starting in Konoha, I got the Rinnegan by signing in. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 176. Jile fell silent too. After a long time, he nodded. If anything is wrong, I will retreat immediately. Patriarch Hyuga, your clan, as the second largest clan of Konoha besides Uchiha clan, you can't sacrifice either. After Nara Shizuaya persuaded Jiraiya for a long time, he turned his gaze to the Hyuga Hizusuka. Now Konoha, only the Hyuga clan can force the Uchiha clan. If something happens to the Hyuga clan, Konoha will really belong to Uchiha? This is also very important. Hyuga Hizu was silent for a long time, and nodded likewise. If something really goes wrong, I will try to escape. Even though he felt that Uchiha Ryo was alone, the Hyuga clan had no weight at all in front of Uchiha clan, but Narashikasa was right. Except for the other tribes of the Hyuga clan, it was even worse. So, if the worst happens and we need to solve Uchiha Ryo, then let us people be the main force. If anything happens, you must protect yourself, Narashikasa said to everyone sternly. Luju, you also need to do the same, Uchiha also said at the same time. Your calm and alert mind is also vital to Konoha, especially in the severe form in the future, which needs you more. People come to plan the layout. So, Uchiha paused when she said that, and looked at the other patriarchs of the other two tribes of the pig, deer and butterfly, and the Inuzuka tribe. However, the faces of these patriarchs were also full of determination. So, if the worst happens, we will be the main force. This sentence of Uchiha can be said to be a final word, and it determines the course of action for the possible imminent suppression of Uchiha Ryubana. The goal of the operation was to kill Uchiha Ryo. 3 people, Jiraiya, Hinata Nizu, and Narashikasa, had important responsibilities, and they evacuated in time if something went wrong. The remaining Uchiha, Yamanaka Keiichi, Chudao Tangdong, Inuzuka claws, even if they sacrificed themselves, would have to protect the 3 of Jiraiya. Well, you don't have to put too much pressure on everyone. The above is just the worst case. Before making a plan, prepare for the worst. This has always been my habit, but as long as we plan well, we actually have a good chance of winning. What's more, it may be that we think too much. Mito Menayan may be fine. After the cold water was poured, Naraloji began to beat everyone up again. Then he said to Hyuga Hizu, now, Chief Hyuga, please look at the situation in the Hokage building with a white eye. Hyuga Nizu had no nonsense, and immediately rolled his eyes and looked in the direction of Hokage's office. His complexion suddenly changed. Everyone, the worst has happened. Mito Menayan was killed. Everyone at the scene changed their expressions, and then the atmosphere became extremely depressed. Since it has happened, everyone, let's act according to what we discussed before, Narashikasa emphasized again. Jile also nodded, but before that, you should quickly develop a combat plan. Lujiayu, Patriarch Hyuga, first use your eyes to find the location of Uchiha Ryubana. Narashikasa said immediately. There is no need for Narashika to say about this. Hyuga Nisuke is also doing it. He used his white eyes to check the entire Hokage building and successfully found Ryubana's figure. Ryuban had already arrived in the lobby on the first floor at this moment and was about to come out. Everyone, hide yourself well, don't let Uchiha Ryubana find out. Nara Lukasa said to everyone in a deep voice. Everyone's expressions were slightly drunk, and they all retracted into the corner of the street. Nara Lukasa looked up at the moon in the sky at this time and found that the moon was very bright. Although it was at night, it could still reflect shadows on people. Fortunately for us, my technique can be used. Naraloji secretly rejoiced in his heart. Although the shadow of the moonlight reflection is a bit weak, it will increase the difficulty of the Narashikaji, but it does not affect the use as long as the shadow imitation technique is used to imprison Uchiha Ryubana. Even a little effort, it can create opportunities for Yamanaka Keiichi's heart to turn around in order to ensure that nothing is lost. The nano-poisonous insects of UNVZHI will also carry out raids through the cover of the dark night. A complete combat plan was instantly formed in Nara's mind. Patriarch Hyuga, watch the whereabouts of Uchiha Ryubana with your white eyes, and share it with everyone at any time. I will look for the right opportunity to perform the shadow imitation technique on Uchiha Ryubana, Heiichi. Once my technique is successful, you must seize the opportunity the first time. The cooperation of the pig, the deer and the butterfly is very tacit, and there is no need for Narakajiki to say, Yamanaka knows what to do. Don't worry, I will immediately use the technique of turning my heart to control him. Yamanaka nodded in agreement, and Zihai, during this period, I want your nano-poisonous insect to be ready at any time. When I use shadow mimicry to control Ryuban, you must attack him as soon as possible. Unvzhihei also nodded solemnly. However, due to the characteristics of the technique, his poisonous insect speed cannot be as fast as the mountain. Therefore, this set of tactical cooperation, Unvzhihei, is equivalent to adding a piece of insurance. Master Jiraiya, Claw, you two cope from the sidelines and react accordingly. Jiraiya and Inuzuka Claw also nodded their heads separately. As for how to react to changes, they are both extremely experienced ninjas, so it is natural that Narushika will not have to say anything. A complete set of cooperative combat plans was born, and several people on the scene began to cooperate with each other according to this set of plans. Uchiha Ryublade is out of the Naruto building, looking at his direction. It should be back to their Uchiha clan. Hyuga Nisa began to constantly monitor the movements of Ryubana with white eyes, reporting to everyone in real time while observing the moon in the sky. Naruto made a comprehensive analysis based on the distribution of moonlight and the specific surroundings combined with a prejudgment of the route back to the Uchiha clan. Naruto chose a best sniper location. Let's go the other way, go to ambush ahead of time. Naruto greeted everyone, and then everyone began to move quickly. Even if it is a different route, it doesn't matter if there are many walls and other obstacles. It is not a problem to have Hyuga's eyes with the support of Bai and Cow. Naruto and his party came to the ambush location selected by Naruto very smoothly. Before Ryubana there is moonlight projecting directly onto the ground, to ensure that when Ryujian passes by, it will leave a shadow on the ground. At the same time, there are a few big trees not far away, so you can hide the poisonous insects of the oily woman in advance. There is still a pile of debris in the corner, which can keep Naradir lurking for a long time, and the convection blade uses shadow imitation. Chapter 177. Not only that, Naruto also adapted measures to local conditions and laid ambush a few detonating charms in specific locations to attract Ryu's attention. As long as Ryubana is attracted by the sudden explosion of the detonating talisman, the probability of Naruto's shadow imitation technique will increase exponentially. Chapter 120. To Konoha, swing a butcher knife. As time passed by, Hyuga Nizuo watched Ryujin with his eyes all the time. As he watched with his unique vision, Ryuban began to approach the ambush spot continuously following the established route. Everything is proceeding according to the original plan. Ryublade turned the last intersection, and he will appear soon. The voice of Hyuga Hizu suddenly became more solemn. Everyone at the scene also had a slight look on their faces. A kind of silent pressure unconsciously permeated the whole scene. After all, in any case, the other party was also a super powerful who suppressed Konoha's big bosses with one person, and it would be impossible to deal with such a person if there was no pressure. However, everyone is also a mature and experienced ninja, and soon adjusted their mentality and entered the highest level of alertness. Sure enough, soon Tadada, the sound of footsteps went from far to near, from light to heavy. A shadow stretched very long by the moonlight, covering the street where everyone was squatting. Uchiha Ryubana. Here comes. Everyone subconsciously lifted their hearts, held their breath, and hid the whole person in the darkness without moving. It is like a beast hidden in the dark. As long as the prey appears in front of you, you will go all out and give a fatal blow. What people like Naruto would not have thought of was that Ryuban had already used the fairy mode to perceive their chakras as early as the moment they left the Hokage building, since it has long been known that the genocide action was acquiesced by several big families. After killing Mito Menayan, would Liu Ren not pay attention to the movements of several big families? Sure enough, under this perception, something really felt. The senior executives of several big families have decided to do it on themselves. The other party traces himself all the way, and is lurking on the only way he must go back, so it goes without saying what he wants to do. Although Liu Ren didn't know the series of specific plans that several big families had made for him, he also guessed one inseparable. After all, given the strength of Ryuban itself, the few big families really didn't have many choices. In addition, the pig, the deer and the butterfly are all there, and the shadow mimicry, the heart-turning technique, etc., can also be guessed with the Thigh. The oil girl clan is also there. It must be a poisonous insect. There is nothing to say about this. Tadada, The footsteps continued to sound unhurriedly, and the shadows on the ground continued to move. Finally, the shadow passed everyone's sight, and a rebellious young face appeared in everyone's field of vision. The expressions of the people have also become dignified to the extreme at this moment. Everyone didn't even dare to take a breath, and their breathing was controlled to the weakest state, all of them motionless like statues. Everyone is waiting for the signal from Lucas Atarida. The scene was extremely silent, only Ryubian's slight footsteps kept ringing, like a countdown to death. Every foot seemed to be stepping on the hearts of everyone. It's now. Suddenly, a light flashed in Lucas's eyes, and Uchiha had reached the best ambush spot. He did not hesitate to detonate the detonator. Buried in the ground. Boom, accompanied by the dull explosion sound, a group of fire suddenly burst out as everyone expected. Uchiha can be said to be taken aback. He first used the extremely fast instantaneous technique to dodge, and then proceeded to the explosion site with vigilance to check. During this process, Naruloji's shadow was like a poisonous snake, and began to quietly poke towards Ryubana on the ground. Ryubian had been checking the explosion of the detonating talisman, and hadn't noticed it at all. Success must be successful. All the Konoha bosses squeezed a sweat, and their hearts were about to pop out of their chests. Just a few seconds seemed as long as a few years. The success or failure of the action lies in the fact that Narulokuji will not be able to succeed at this moment. 4 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter, half a meter. The shadow is getting closer and closer to Ryubian. Finally, the shadow of Lucas Inara successfully connected with the shadow of Ryubana. It's a success. Shadow imitation. It succeeded. Call. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and they were as excited to the extreme as if they had won the lottery. Uchiha didn't have any nonsense, and immediately controlled the poisonous insects that had long been ambushing among the trees by the wall, and flew towards Ryubian. Yamanaka Keiichi even raised his hands, aimed at Ryubian, and directly used the technique of turning his heart. Jiraiya and Inuzuka's claws looked dignified, their eyes fixed on the scene, and if anything happened, they would react accordingly and act with cameras hum. But at that critical moment, things happened suddenly. But seeing Uchiha Ryubana's body, something similar to an energy shield suddenly appeared, directly absorbing the shadow of Yamanaka Keiichi. Chapter 178. If someone sees Lyu's eyes from the front, he will see that Liu's eye sockets at this moment are no longer Shirlanian, but Samsara's eyes. Even though the shadow mimicry technique can confine Ryubian's body, it cannot prevent Ryubian from using the pupil technique. Ryubian switched directly to the Eyes of Reincarnation, using the Hungry Ghost AO to absorb the shadow imitation technique cleanly. It's like using the reincarnation eye to out Shikamaru's shadow. But now it is night, not during the day. Naruloji uses the projection of moonlight to use shadow imitation technique. The power of the technique has been greatly reduced. Almost instantly, he was destroyed by Ryubian Jiangshua. At that moment, Ryubian shot the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, and the person teleported directly to a distance of tens of meters away, just standing there straightforwardly, looking at Naruloji and the others coldly. Yamanaka Keiichi's heart-turning technique, the nano-poisonous insects of Uchiha, all hide a hole. How could this be? My shadow was absorbed by him? What kind of strange technique was that just now? Naruloji was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe his eyes. His shadow imitation technique has never been used since it has been used, and once it has been hit, it has never been cracked, unless it is violent to break free, forcibly get rid of the shackles of the shadow. But this requires that the opponent's strength is far stronger than him. Narushika has encountered this problem for a long time when he was in Shinin, but he rarely encountered it after Zhongnan, especially Shungren. He has almost never encountered it. The shadow imitation technique used by a ninja of his level is still terrible. Shikamaru can restrain both the peach and gold styles at the same time as an adult. Narulokus is naturally not bad either. Of course, with Ryubian strength, it is possible to forcibly break free from the shadow imitation technique in the moonlight state, but it can't be done in an instant, so he used the reincarnation eye without hesitation. Buzzing. If Yamanaka Keiichi's heart-turning technique failed, he could only start from scratch, but Uchiha controlled a large group of nano-poisonous insects and started flying towards Ryubana overwhelmingly. Shenluo Xianzheng, Liu Jian lifted the weight lightly, and a shot of Shenluo Xianzheng bounced all the nano-poisonous insects away at the same time. Liu Bian also entered the fairy mode in an instant, and his hands quickly became imprinted. Fire escape, extinguish the fire, call. He opened his mouth and spit out, and a sea of flames that was exaggerated to the extreme appeared, which almost obscured all the space on that side. A B-level ninjutsu is also abruptly used by Ryubian to show the sense of sight of an S-level ninjutsu. Not good. Yunzi's black complexion changed drastically. Isn't it the flame that his insect swarm feared the most? He immediately controlled a rapid transfer of the insect swarm, but first, Ryuban's escape from the fire was too exaggerated, and it was simply overwhelming. The insect swarm seemed too small in front of this level of fire escape. It's like a big flood in the city in a disaster movie. No matter how you run or escape, it is impossible to escape that terrifying power. Secondly, Ryuban's shot of Shenwubi Bridge caused a violent impact on the insect swarm. And the insect swarm is still in chaos. It's like a light boat floating up and down in the waves. This level makes it more difficult to control the oily nymphomaniac call. In a blink of an eye, the insect swarm was swallowed by the exaggerated fire escape that burned clean. Not one left. Yunzi called it distressed. Her face was black, and she suffered heavy losses. That was his family's property. It was burned all at once. I don't know how much energy and time it will take to recultivation. This level of fire escape. Inuzuka Claw wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, and he couldn't help but subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His face was full of shock. He knows that the Uchiha people are good at fire escape. But this is too exaggerated, right? It's simply a forbidden technique. Okay, this is Uchiha Ryubana? Even Hodayan is so terrible. Chudao Tangdong and Yamanaka Keiichi also opened their mouths wide. Pupils, Fei Lei Shin, magnetic escape, etc. are still useless, and they feel a kind of suffocation when they casually burst into flames. Everyone felt out of breath. How exactly should this kind of enemy respond? No, those eyes, that's the eyes of the six immortals. After the sky of fire disappeared, everyone also found the pair of eyes in Ryuban's pupils. It was even more unbelievable. Reincarnation eye. How can this person still have reincarnation eyes? This one can't fight at all. Yes, Ryuban no longer concealed his reincarnation eye. With his current strength, it would be nothing to expose the reincarnation eye. Even if Hiju knew that he had reincarnation eyes, Liu Ren didn't care at all. This was the powerful confidence that strength brought him. Chapter 179. You shouldn't do it to me. Ryuban looked at Nara Lukasa and the others in a deep voice, and said in a deep voice, with endless indifference and cruelty on his face. Frankly speaking, Rinnegan actually understood the actions of Nara and others, and did not even think that what Nara and others did was wrong. But this is not important. What is important is that they conviction the killer, then they must pay the price of life. With these words of Ryuban, the atmosphere on the scene suddenly became solemn and solemn. Nara Shikuhisa and others felt a sense of breathlessness. Master Jalaiya, Patriarch Hyuga, Lujayu, you go back quickly. We are responsible for keeping him in check and acting according to the plan. At this time, Yamanaka Keiichi shouted in a deep voice to Jiraiya and others, and at the same time, he once again compared the posture of the mind-turning technique to Ryuban plan to perform this trick on the convection blade. Again, Ryuban can only be called a ghost. Shenwei, click. Liu Ren looked at Yamanaka Keiichi with both eyes, switched to the writing round eyes, and directly cut off Yamanaka Keiichi's head with a shot of remote power, and sent him back to his grandmother's house. Thump. The headless corpse of Heiichi in the mountains just fell to the ground, dead. His hands still kept the same posture together. Heiai, Chudaodang made a loud cry of sorrow from the east mouth, and his eyes were splitting. The pig, deer, and butterfly tribes have always been very close allies, and the death of Yamanaka Keiichi said to him that the blow was really too big. Nara Luji also clenched his teeth and clenched his fists, but according to the previously negotiated strategy, he quickly used the instantaneous technique to evacuate. This is true for both Jiraiya and Hyuga. However, Chudao Tangdong used the doubling technique in an instant, and the man suddenly became a giant taller than the surrounding houses, and he smashed toward Ryuban with such a bang. The shinobu next to Inuzuka Claw suddenly turned into another Inuzuka Claw, and the two Inuzuka Claws turned into two spiral hurricanes and swept toward Ryublade. Although Yunushihei lost the swarm, his own ninjutsu physique was also top-notch, and immediately drew out a ninja and projected it towards Ryubana. Ryuban just stretched out his hand, and gently stretched out to those who rushed towards him. Shenlu Oshianten, a huge and incomparable repulsive force appeared instantly, pouring toward everyone like a torrent. Chi. All the ninjas that Yunzi shot out flew back for the first time. Inuzuka Claw and his Shinobu Kurama were also shot off in the first place, turned into two cannonballs, and fell to the ground severely. Two big pits were smashed into the earth. Boom. The black dog that had turned into human form was directly hit by this heavy blow and transformed into its body again. Even a man as big as Chudao Tangdong shook a little, as if he had encountered a magnitude 8 typhoon, stopped in an instant, and could no longer move forward. It's hard to stand firm. Boom, boom. As for the surrounding walls, buildings, etc. They also collapsed like a typhoon. The three of Jiraiya, Hinata Hyuga, and Narashikasa who were retreating also failed to escape. They staggered and fell from the air. However, after all, they were far away. At the periphery of Shinlu Oshin's the instantaneous technique was forced to be interrupted, but they did not suffer much damage. Vientian. Xianayan. Before everyone was relieved, the same huge suction appeared again, covering everyone in an instant. Chapter 121. Under the immense suction power, the weaker ones among the Konoha bosses flew towards Ryubana first. For example, Narashikasa, Inuzuka Claw, and Uchiha. The three of them flew almost directly into the air and flew toward Ryubana. Jiraiya and Hyuga Nizu are stronger, and they are far apart, yet they can manage to compete with a huge suction power. But it was still like a tug of war, constantly approaching Ryubana's for Chiudeo Tangdong, who became a giant. He had tried his best to resist the repulsion before, but now the repulsion suddenly turned into gravitation. He was unsteady, and he fell directly to the ground. Boom! The whole earth was smashed violently, as if an earthquake had occurred. But when Chiudeo fell to the ground, Naralukasa and Inuzuka Claw flew directly in front of Ryubana. Ryubana shook his hand and shot three black sticks directly, piercing the hearts of Naralukasa and Inuzuka Claw without hesitation. Poor Naralukuji also died like this. Even if they had planned well before, no matter how thorough it was, it would be useless. In front of Ryubana, all the plans were empty. Only if Liu Ren said it. At this moment Ryubana put away Shinlu Oshin's and in front of him, there was only Jiraiya and Hyuga Nizu, who looked ugly and solemn to the extreme, and Chiudeo Tang, who was lying on the ground on the side. And Jiraiya and Hyuga Nizu did not escape at this time, because they knew that it was impossible to do this kind of thing in front of Ryu Rumble. At this time, Chiudeo Tangdong climbed up from the ground with great difficulty, like a hill. Chapter 180. The three of them faced Ryubana as if they were facing an enemy, with cold sweat on their foreheads and a blink of an eye. 4 of them died of 7, and for the remaining 3, there is no hope of victory at all. What's going on? What happened? The movement just before the battle was so huge that Konoha was shocked, especially some villagers near the battlefield, who had long since ran out of their homes when they saw the mess at the scene. They all opened their eyes wide, panicked, and fled at a loss. At the same moment, a large number of ninjas from the AMB, as well as ninjas from major families, Konoha guards and other people all began to use instantaneous skills and rushed over the side in front of them, caught their eyes, making everyone stunned and dumbfounded. I don't know the situation at all. Jiraiya-sama, Hyuga Nizu-sama, they seem to be fighting Uchiha Ryubana. Look at Uchiha Ryubana's eyes, dead. Narashikasa and Yuzashiguro, they are all dead. An incomprehensible exclamation sounded, and no one knew what had happened. Uchiha Ryubana. Uchiha Fudake was confused, and his face was dumbfounded. How many of Uchiha Ryubana was playing against Jiraiya and the others? This ruin-like scene at the scene was also caused by the battle between Uchiha Ryu and Jiraiya and others. Narakaji and Yamanaka Keiichi were also killed by Uchiha Ryuchi. Because the scene in front of me was too shocking, Uchiha Tomitake first flashed the above thoughts before remembering the most important question. What happened, Master Jiraiya? What's going on? Kakashi, Uchiha, Marino Ibiki and others who have become Dark Force commanders quickly rushed over and asked, Uchiha Ryubana killed Sandaime and Mito Menin. He is Konoha's traitor. At this time, Jiraiya said in a deep voice to the ninjas who had gathered around him. As soon as this remark came out, there was an uproar at the scene, which was tantamount to throwing a blockbuster into the crowd. What? 3 generations actually died? Are you fake? He actually killed 3rd generation Mu. Impossible. I have clearly seen Sandaime today. How could Sandaime die? There was a burst of shock and excitement at the scene. No one wanted to believe this kind of thing. It was horrible. What Jiraiya said is true. He really killed the 3rd generation Ghoul. We saw the 3rd generation Ghoul's body with our own eyes. At this time, Hyuga Nizu also spoke in agreement. Yes, this is a very dangerous person. Chiudeo Tangdong, who had become a giant, also followed closely. If one person says this, everyone might not believe it, but if 3 big figures say this one after another, everyone has to believe it. Liu Ren, what they said, is it true? Uchiha Tomitake also couldn't help but asked with a shocked expression on his face, Sarutobi Hizen was indeed killed by me. I killed Mito Menin too. There is nothing wrong with that. As he watched one after another, Liu Ren admitted this very frankly. He did indeed do the matter. There is nothing to deny. What? Uchiha Ryubana really killed Sandaime? I don't believe it. How could Uchiha Ryubana be the third generation opponent? Yes, Uchiha Ryubana doesn't have that kind of strength at all. There is still an incredible clamor around. Everyone, Uchiha Ryubana is actually the Uchiha clan who appeared in the year when Kushina was produced. Jile also revealed the truth to everyone. Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded, and dumb Uchiha Ryubana was actually the one who snatched 9 tails 3 years ago, the one against the Sky Uchiha Master who successively injured many Konoha high levels, including the 3rd generation and the 4th generation. How could it be? How old is Uchiha Ryubana? It's a 15 or 6-year-old child. In this short moment, Jile has indeed thrown too many blockbuster bombs on them, and everyone's brains are about to be blown up. Uchiha Ryubana, is that the guy I have been looking for? He is so powerful. Uchiha Fuyu mumbledly looked at Uchiha Ryubana, feeling extremely unreal. This young man, who is usually not very noticeable in his clan, can he be so perverted? Yes, I did kill Sarutobi Risen, but Jiraiya, please tell everyone why I killed Sarutobi Risen and why I killed Miro Menayan. In the noisy scene, Uchiha Ryuba's flat voice sounded, but it suddenly quieted the scene. All the attention of everyone on the scene was focused on Liu Ren and Ji Lai Yi. Everyone would like to know this answer. Jiraiya's fist suddenly clenched, and that was revealing his teacher's scars. After all, his teacher's approach is indeed not very glorious. Jiraiya, why don't you tell everyone? Don't you have the courage to tell everyone what your teacher has done? At this time Liu Bian, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 181. Master Jiraiya, do you know the truth? If so, why don't you tell us why Sandaime died? Marino Abixi said in a deep voice. At this time the other ninjas also stared at Jiraiya, waiting for Jiraiya's answer. Let me talk about it. I can be considered a witness to this matter. Hyuga Nezu spoke on the side. At this time everyone's gaze shifted to Hinata's body. When the Union delegation came to our village for peace talks, I didn't know why my daughter Hyuga Hinata was suddenly taken away. In the process of escaping, fortunately, Ryan Uchiha of the Konoha Guard found and killed the culprit and rescued Hinata. Discussions began to come from the crowd, because the incident was raging in Konoha at the time, and everyone had heard of it. But what was going on at the time? No one was confused at the time until now. Everyone knew exactly the truth at that time. After the thief who kidnapped Hinata died, the Onion Mission used this to put pressure on Sandaime. In order for the two villages to conclude a peace treaty, Sandaime decided to sacrifice Uchiha Ryubana to calm the Onion Mission's anger. So Uchiha Ryubana became angry and killed Sandaime. There was an uproar at the scene again. It turned out that there was such a complicated reason behind Uchiha Ryubana's killing of the 3rd generation of purpose. Then why did he kill Miro Menayan? Marino Ibriki asked in a deep voice on the side again. Because Miro Menayan knew what Ryun was doing in his true identity, and planned to use Uchiha Ryun to destroy the Uchiha clan. This time, it was not Hyuga Hisasu who spoke, but Jiraiya. In the end, he and Hyuga Nisa are still daring and upright ninjas. Even if the facts are not good for their own side, they will not reverse black and white and make up a twill. Facts are facts. The whole scene suddenly became quiet, and the atmosphere on the scene began to become a little weird. Originally, after everyone heard that Ryuga killed Sandaime and Miro Menayan, they all hated Uchiha Ryuga very much and wanted to kill it soon. But after listening to the reasons behind it, they also somewhat understood Liu Bian's approach. However, understanding belongs to understanding. From their standpoint, Liu Bian killed Sandaime, that is the unforgivable rebellion. Uchiha Ryubana, even though the method of the 3rd generation goal is open to question, you can't kill the 3rd generation goal. Since you killed Sandaime, then you are Konoha's sinner. We will never tolerate it. Kakashi walked out at this time, and said to Liu Bian with a cold and murderous face, not bad. Ibis also nodded. No matter what your reason is, you can't kill the 3rd generation. This is unforgivable. Haha. Liu Ren smiled. He looked at the surrounding and ninjas who were blocking the streets, and there were a large number of other ordinary ninjas. He didn't care about it. I won't be merciful to those who want to kill me. You had better not mess around, otherwise. Speaking of this, the voice of Liu Bian suddenly chilled, as if the temperature on the scene had dropped a bit. I will kill as many people as you come. Kakashi, Morinabixi and others all subconsciously felt a chill in their backs, all the people of Anbu, but Kakashi immediately gave the order and screamed, go. Haha. 50 or 60 and ninjas all rushed towards Uchiha Ryubana. Liu Bian's Eyes of Reincarnation suddenly switched to Eyes of Rebirth at this moment, and a jade for seeking the truth condensed out, and after that, it transformed into Golden Sword. Golden Wheel Reincarnation explodes. Laugh. A golden light swept across the group of Anbu ninjas who rushed over all of a sudden. 50 or 60 and ninjas didn't even say a word. They were instantly chopped to death, and they lay on the ground all at once. Kakashi's body is also among them. This Konoha genius, who was popular in the original book and even overwhelmed the two protagonists at one time, had waved from beginning to end to the finale, and finished his life in such a short time. No way. Who told him to do something against Ryuban? Hiss. There was another air-conditioned sound coming from the scene, and the rest of the ninjas only felt that their heads were about to explode with one blow. Instantly kill 50 or 60 Anbu ninjas. What kind of perversion is this? Uchiha Tomatake also almost stared his eyes out. It was that person. Uchiha Ryu is absolutely that person. He had doubts that Ryuzen was Uchiha before, but now he no longer doubted it at all. As for the other Uchiha people, while shocked to the extreme, they were also excited to the extreme. Strong. His tribe is too strong. Fully have the strength to crush Konoha? Is this the rebirth I recorded in our clan? And Hyuga Nezu looked at the eyes in Ryu's pupils, and muttered to himself incredulously, "Everyone, don't do it. Don't come up again," Jalaiah yelled with a solemn expression. So many people died at once, his heart was really bleeding, and he never wanted to see any fearless sacrifice. This is the war between the three of us and him. Please don't interfere with the others, Hyuga Nezu also said in a deep voice to the people of the surrounding races. With Hokage killed, the root boss killed, and the dark troop leader also killed, Jiraiya, one of the three ninjas, is undoubtedly the most qualified person to give orders on the scene. Everyone, don't act rashly. Marino Abixi's expression changed several times, and finally he clenched his fists, gritted his teeth, and shouted at the crowd, incomparably frustrated. Although he didn't want to admit it, he also had to admit that if a ninja went up, it would be dead for nothing. Even Jiraiya adults are like that. Whizzing. Chapter 182. Jiraiya and Hyuga Nezu glanced at each other at this time, and each launched a flashing technique, and quickly rushed towards Ryuzen call. The dull sound of breaking through the sky sounded at the same time. Chiudao Tangdong, who had turned into a giant, also raised his immensely huge fist, and began to smash against Ryuban. The person standing on the ground looked up, as if a huge boulder was slammed down. Ryuban magnetic escape dust gold used, and a huge golden dust gold fist soared into the sky, directly blocking Chiudao Tangdong's fist, and his eyes switched to the state of riding wheel eyes, aiming at Rinnegan Nezu for a turn. Chapter 122. Boom. There was a dull and loud noise. But the huge dust fist under Ryuban's control had already violently collided with Chiudao Tangdong in a violent energy fluctuation. That group of gold dust fists exploded directly, but Chiudao Tangdong's whole body was also staggered back by that dust fist. Boom boom boom. His footsteps were light and staggering, and he stomped on the ground in a mess. Every time he stepped out, the ground shook fiercely. It's like an earthquake. The surrounding walls and houses suffered even more damage, and were knocked down a lot by Chiudao Tangdong. The surrounding ninjas saw their pupils shrinking sharply, and they were a little unacceptable. After all, this scene was still very impactful. Chiudao Tangdong has become such a giant now, and he has been repulsed by the head. Not good, dangerous. And when Hyuga Nezu aimed at Ryubana's riding wheel, a feeling of extreme danger immediately came to his mind. The instinct that comes from life and death makes the Hyuga Hippo instinct dodge to the right as quickly as possible. Call. At that moment, a black flame burst up on the left arm of Hyuga Hizu. There is no doubt that it is Ryuban's Amaterasu. What? This black flame? It's him. From the corner of his eye, Zulai caught a glimpse of this scene, and suddenly revealed an unbelievable look. Isn't this black flame the mysterious master who secretly helped Konoha on several occasions? On the battlefield of the 3 world wars, Shisu was saved, the 7 people invaded Konoha and the other 5 were killed, and the Bofton Shuman was saved by the soil. Even the big-toed immortal is prophesying. That person is the son of the new prophecy, and will bring huge changes to the ninja world. Konoha has been trying to find the mysterious master for so many years, and has been clueless, but in the end, the mysterious master who helped Konoha is also the one who is about to ruin Konoha now. Jiraiya's expression was really extremely complicated, and it was a little unacceptable for a while. Black Flame, Hyuga Hizu was also taken aback. As a senior Konoha, he naturally knew this famous Black Flame laugh. Hyuga Nezu is also an extremely decisive person. After personally feeling the dominance of the Black Flame, he directly cut off his entire left arm, even dodged. As expected of Hyuga Nezu, there was a hint of approval in Ryuban's eyes. He had used Amaterasu to aim at the vital point of Hyuga's chest, but he didn't want the other party to use the instantaneous technique to dodge in time, and suddenly let Amaterasu miss. However, the strength of the Hyuga Nezu who lost an arm is also greatly reduced. After all, the Hyuga clan is good at soft fist, spiral pill, and when Liu Ren frustrated Chiu Da Tangdong and Hyuga Hizu, Jiraiya also came to Liu Ren. And a light blue highly condensed chakra ball in his hand hit Liu Ren directly. The eyes in Liu Bian's eye sockets switched to reincarnation eyes, and he stretched out his hand directly at the spiral pill. What is he doing? Ji Lai also subconsciously felt a little puzzled, but immediately saw a circle of familiar energy masks appearing on the opponent's hand. It was the one that appeared before, and absorbed the strange technique of Narashikaya's shadow imitation technique. Not good. Jiraiya's face changed slightly. Sure enough, Jiraiya's helix mirror was directly sucked by Liu Bian using Hungry Ghost Deo. You are so close to me. Are you looking for death? Liu Ren smiled bitterly at Jiraiya at this time. Sir Deo. Boom 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 boom. A few missiles hit directly at Jiraiya at such a close distance, it was impossible for Ji Lai to avoid it, and it was too late to even connect the seal, which meant that his defensive ninjutsu was completely useless in a hurry. I can only pat with both hands. The art of messy lion hair. One of his long hair instantly grew longer, like a waterfall, which surrounded himself and formed a defensive layer. The defensive layer had just been formed, and the flow blade missiles directly blasted past. All of a sudden, Jiraiya was also blown up. Boom. Amid the violent explosion, Jiraiya also ejected backwards like a cannonball, and smashed into the ruins. Wow, an arm of Jiraiya was also blown off. And there were wounds all over his body, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183. Just one face. Jiraiya, one of the dignified three ninjas, was also hit hard. Hiss. All of a sudden, the scene became silent, and only one after another stunned voices sounded, and all the ninjas around were stunned and stunned. Uchiha Ryubana is too strong. Right, the three masters of Jiraiya, Rinnegan Hizu, and Kitadadangdong jointly launched an attack on it. As a result, after only one face-to-face, Jiraiya and Hyuga Nizu were seriously injured. Chiudao Tangdong was also hit back again and again. No wonder there are rumors in the village that this person had defeated a number of masters such as the 3rd generation and 4th generation. At that time, many ninjas who were not there did not believe it at all and thought it was a rumor, but at this moment, they finally believed that this Uchiha Ryubana was too abnormal. Master Jiraiya, Patriarch Hyuga, an angry and shocked loud shout sounded, and at the same time there was a booming earthquake-like sound, but it was Chiudao Tangdong, the giant who rushed towards Liu Bian. Again Hyuga Hizu took a deep breath, and after the simple hemostasis, he rushed towards Ryzen as well, but seeing that Liu Ren didn't pay attention to Hyuga Sunfoot at all, the eyes in his eyes switched to rebirth eyes, and the person suddenly floated in the sky, and flew directly towards Chiudao Tang. Then he slammed his hands together, and an energy light ball about the size of a person instantly condensed out, and shot it towards Chiudao Tangdong with a bang. It is the energy photosphere that the reincarnating eye can use. The condensing speed of this light sphere is extremely fast, almost instantaneous, and the launch speed is also very fast, much faster than the speed of the Shiradao missile. It is the best choice to deal with Chiudao Tangdong at this moment. Chiudao Tangdong is now in a giant state. It was extremely inconvenient to move around, and he was directly hit by the huge energy ball in his chest. Boom. Amidst the violent explosion of energy, the giant Chiudao Tangdong was directly blown into flight by Liu Jian. Yes, it's booming. The huge body, which was higher than the house, flew several meters away in the air, and slammed heavily on the house on one side, smashed the house into ruins. Immediately after that, Chiudao Tangdong changed from a giant to an ordinary person, lying in the ruins of that place covered in blood, motionless. The slightest breath of life is gone. It completely turned into a corpse. Chiudao Tangdong was killed again. The pupils of Jiraiya and Hyuga Nizu on the ground shrank fiercely, frightened and angry. Their fists clenched tightly just under their noses. Another companion was killed by Uchiha Ryubana, but they didn't have any strength to stop each other. The Konoha ninjas around nearly bit their teeth one by one. Shocked, angry, and panicked, these Konoha executives were as weak as a lamb to be slaughtered in front of Uchiha Ryubana. They can't see any hope at all. Now, it's your turn. After killing Chiudao Tangdong, Liu Ren turned around slightly in the air, faced Hyuga Nizu and Jiraiya, and stretched out his hands to them. Puff puff puff. One after another, the ball of light was shot out by Ryzen, bombarding the two of Hyuga Nizu and Jiraiya overwhelmingly. Back to the days, Hyuga Nezu opened his eyes. And the person quickly spun around in place, and a huge chakra whirlpool enveloped Hyuga Nezu. All the ball of light that hid him was bounced off by Hyuga Jutsu. On the contrary, Jiraiya, who is much stronger than Hyuga Nezu, used the instantaneous technique to dodge from left to right in an embarrassed state. Boom boom boom, a series of light chased Zille and continued to explode, and it didn't take long for him to blow up again. Wow, Zille also vomited another big mouthful of blood, and the whole person had already lost sight of it. Master Jiraiya, the Konoha ninjas around saw their eyes cracking, and they couldn't help it. Many people gritted their teeth and wanted to rush over. Don't move, everyone, don't move. However, Jiraiya turned his head and sternly shouted at those people, only to stop those people from drinking. Boom. However, just when Jiraiya drank that Tsukuba ninja, under the feet of Hyuga Hippocampus, within the Hushin chakra ball, a cloud of sand burst out directly. It was so unexpected that he immediately climbed from all directions around to the body of the Hyuga hippopotamus, restraining the legs and feet of the Hyuga hippopotamus with labor. Hyuga Nezu's Hushin was directly broken. Boom. At that moment, a few shots of energy light suddenly flooded Hyuga, and a series of violent explosions sounded after the light dissipated. The corpse of Hyuga Hizu appeared in front of everyone. There was only one Jiraiya left in the whole scene. Moreover, Jiraiya was also seriously injured and completely lost his combat effectiveness. Master Jiraiya, the Konoha ninjas around couldn't help it. Even though they knew how powerful Ryubana was and saw the terrible Ryubana with their own eyes, they couldn't help it when they saw that Jiraiya became a lamb to be slaughtered. A group of ninjas screamed and rushed towards Ryubana again. Chapter 184. Stop, everyone stops. Jiraiya also yelled in anxious and panic, but there was nothing to use. The group of ninjas still rushed up. This is the life and death friendship between fighters. Even if some people know that they can't change anything even at the cost of their lives, they will still do it without hesitation even at the expense of his own life. Frankly speaking, very respectable. However, there was no expression in Liu Ren's eyes. He slowly landed from the air, and another jade-forsaking Taoism condensed out. Golden wheel reincarnation explodes. Laugh. Another white practice flash past all the ninjas who rushed up. Didn't have time to react at all, and even before they had time to get close to Raya Blade, their lives were relentlessly harvested. Yes, it is harvesting because these ninjas are really like wheat in the wheat field in front of Ryubana. They can't do anything except wait for Ryubana to swing a butcher knife. Gudong, Uchiha Fudake and other Uchiha clan members couldn't help but swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This clan member of his own was so fierce the whole scene suddenly became quiet, and the atmosphere was almost suppressed to the extreme. Everyone was stiff, cold and sweaty, never dared to step forward again. The dozens of corpses that fell to the ground in that instant completely shattered the last touch of courage in everyone's hearts. Everyone looked at Jiraiya with shocked, anxious, and unwilling gazes. Could it be that even Master Jiraiya was inevitable? But seeing that Zille also stood up calmly, his eyes fixed on Ryubana, without a trace of fear. Boom boom boom. But at this moment when the depression and tension were at its extreme, a dull vibration sounded. The ground began to vibrate suddenly, and everyone turned their heads subconsciously, only to see a behemoth rushing towards here with great momentum. The behemoth was taller than the house, orange hair, 4 sharp claws, and 9 tails wagging at the tail. It was the Nine-tailed. Nine-tailed is here, it's 9 tails. Master Juxune is here. The ninjas at the scene became excited after a moment. At this moment, this fox demon, who was once regarded as a scourge, became everyone's only hope against Uchiha Ryubana. Everyone, move quickly, don't hinder Master Jiuzine, Marino Ibiki said in a deep voice to the ninjas. Whoosh whoosh, including Marino Ibiki. All the ninjas started the instantaneous technique for the first time and moved to other places. Make room for Kyuubi, and Jiraiya also took advantage of Ryubana's attention to be attracted by Kyuubi, bit his finger and patted the ground. Reverse psychic, boom. Jiraiya disappeared from the scene all at once. Have you escaped to Myomu Mountain? Liu Ren turned his head and looked at the place where Jiraiya was originally, where only a circle of surgery and chakra remained. He instantly understood what was going on. Kyuubi, be careful with Ryubana Uchiha, his illusion is terrible. The completely beast-like Uzumaki Kushina reminded Kyuubi solemnly. It's long-winded, I still use you to teach. Don't look at the voice of Kyuubi. It sounded a little disapproving, but he was actually extremely jealous of those eyes. Just 2 years ago, first brought oil and used the riding wheel eyes to control him to force him out of Renzuli's body. And then Ryuban used the riding wheel eyes to put Kyuubi into deep sleep. This is a shame for Kyuubi. It also made Kyuubi more and more afraid of Shaolin Yan. Chapter 123. One person suppresses Konoha. Konoha ninja temporarily evacuated out of the street, and Jiraiya also used reverse spiritism to escape, and the entire scene was left with Ryuzen and Ninetales facing each other. But Ninetales didn't directly pounce towards Ryun this time, and Shang-Chi stopped when she was still some distance away from Ryun with a mouth. The boundless chakra energy condensed in the mouth, and a huge ball appeared directly. Surprisingly, it is the tail beast Jade. No, it's tail beast Jade. The expressions of the Uchiha tribesmen couldn't help but change slightly, and they couldn't help showing a look of worry. In any case, it was also a tail beast Jade. Although Uchiha Ryubana's strength is beyond the sky, no one is sure that Uchiha Ryubana could withstand this kind of attack by the tail beast Jade. And 2 years ago, Kyuubi was controlled by illusion from start to finish, and he hadn't directly fought against Ryubane, so everyone couldn't confirm that Ryubane was able to do Kyuubi unless Uchiha Ryublade can open Susanoo. However, whether Uchiha Ryublade can be turned on, no one knows. Boom! In the gaze of the surrounding eyes, a tail beast Jade containing extremely terrifying energy hit Ryuban directly. Chapter 185. Even the Konoha ninjas who were hiding around watching the battle felt a kind of suffocation in that ball of energy. There is a terrible power that can destroy half of the village. I just don't know if this terrible attack can defeat Uchiha Ryubana. All Konoha ninjas squeezed a sweat, but seeing Ryuban's eyes switch directly to the riding wheel eyes at this time, he took a look at the tail beast Jade, and activated a pupil technique. Shenwubi. Everyone saw that the space above the tail beast Jade suddenly became distorted, and waves of space appeared with a rotation of the spatial ripples. The tail beast Jade, which was highly concerned by everyone, just disappeared. Nani, many people were stunned. Unable to accept such a result. That was the tail beast Jade, and in the end it disappeared so coldly, without even a slight splash of water aroused. The Uchiha clan was even more stunned. It turned out that it was able to deal with the tail beast Jade so easily and freely without needing to be sorrowed. This is space pupil technique. He transferred my tail beast Jade to another space. Kyuubi's expression was ugly. His ultimate big move, tail beast Jade, can't hurt the opponent, which basically means that he can't help that person at all. Kyuubi? This thing can really hurt people. Liu Ren raised his head and glanced at Kyuubi in the distance, and sneered with disdain in his mouth. Uchiha Tomatake, Marino Ibiki, all Konoha ninjas, they were all stimulated by Ryuban's artful words of pretending to be that's Ninetales, the fox demon that everyone can hear. Is it really suitable for you to look so indifferent? At least give people the basic respect of Kyuubi. Okay, damn Uchiha people. Although it wasn't close to Ryun, Kyuubi also heard Ryun's words, and his whole body trembled with anger. Boom boom boom. Angrily, Kyuubi began to rush towards Ryuban again, and the ground began to shake again. However, Ryuban's complexion was extremely calm, and the power of the pupils flowed in his pupils, and the majestic blue energy was constantly surging like the stormy waves. That huge coercion made everyone around him out of breath. This is horse massacre. None of the Konoha ninjas can keep calm, and some people who have recognized what this is, can't keep calm after all. That is the power that the legendary gods have. A wave of fear, shock, and panic began to spread among the crowd, and sweat began to flow out of everyone's forehead as everyone watched. Huge skeletons, flesh and blood, coats, and armors formed one after another. A blue giant over 100 meters long appeared in front of everyone, but seeing the giant wearing a Tengu mask and heavy armor on his body, holding a large sword in each hand, it was extremely majestic. Just standing still in place can give people a huge pressure and despair in the face of such a godlike power. How can you match it? Even Kyuubi won't work. Everyone's guess was correct. Kyuubi had already rushed to Uchiha Ryubana at this time, but the giant Nasusa casually lifted his foot and stepped Kyuubi under his feet all at once. Wow! Kyuubi kept wailing, struggling, and rolling at the feet of giant Saseo, trying to break free from Ryu's feet, but it was useless at all. His roar seemed so pale and feeble at this moment. Boom! At this time Ryuban controlled giant Susa and let go of his feet. Kyuubi had just got up, and Ryuban punched him directly. Kyuubi was beaten like a sandbag, and suddenly rolled on the ground. Before he could get up, he was knocked over by the giant Suzuo again. Boom boom boom. In this way, as everyone watched, Kyuubi began his miserable life. How can it be a tragic word? It was like a little sheep ravaged by a big bad wolf. That's Ninetales, unexpectedly, was beaten by Ryuban. What kind of power is this? All Konoha ninjas were desperate, and even many of them began to tremble just like when the ninja allied forces faced Uchiha Madara during the Fourth World War. They were all scared. No way. Ryuban's strength is beyond their cognition. It is not an exaggeration to describe the gap between heaven and earth. Boom boom boom. The game of ravaging nine-tailed tail continued. Ryuban fisted and kicked the nine-tailed tail and slashed with a knife. He ravaged the nine-tailed tail so that he could not move. Chapter 186. Even at the end, Kyuubi was so comatose by Liu Jianshin that he automatically got rid of his beast-like state and returned to Uzumaki Kushina's body. Kushina was standing in front of the giant Saseo like that, looking up at the behemoth, and the whole person was dumbfounded. It seemed to be lost. How can she contend against this terrifying power? How can Konoha contend? After turning the nine tails dry, the riding wheel eyes turned in Ryubana's eyes, and Sasano was taken back, and he himself landed down from the air and appeared in front of Uzumaki Kushina step by step. He walked towards Uzumaki Kushina. Uzumaki Kushina felt a kind of tension in the whole person, and those Konoha ninjas who had hidden under observation were also nervous. Konoha's current senior management has almost been killed by Uchiha Ryubana, and now even Kushina-sama is going to die in this person's hands. If this is the case, Konoha would be over. You are lucky. I will not kill you today. However, to everyone's surprise, Liu Ren didn't even kill Uzumaki Kushina, although Liu Jian's strength is now against the sky. It is not a whirlpool physique, let alone a thousand hands physique. The amount of chakra in itself is very limited, just a physique of an ordinary Uchiha clan. The reason why he was able to fight back and forth without feeling tired, apart from using the fairy mode to borrow natural energy, the most important thing was to borrow the chakras of a few small tail beasts in his body. It's just that he has reached a perfect relationship with the several tail beasts in his body, and he can make the tail beast cooperate with him as he wants to achieve the state he wants to achieve. For a long time, several tail beasts silently provided him with chakra support. But they did not generate chakra codes to protect Ryublade because Ryuban does not need to waste chakras at all, so outsiders don't see any clues at all. But after all, his physique is not particularly outstanding, so he can't directly seal Kyuubi. Liu Jian can't guarantee that his body can carry the nine tails. Therefore, the most appropriate way at the moment is to temporarily store nine tails in Uzumaki Kushina's body. Of course, since Uzumaki Kushina chose Convection Blade to take action, Liu Blade would naturally not let him go. He switched directly to the other god's pupil technique, and sent a shot of the other to Uzumaki Kushina, and controlled Uzumaki Kushina. From now on, you follow my orders. Ryuban planted such an idea at Uzumaki Kushina. After doing all this, Liu Ren turned his head and looked around, and found that no ninjas had jumped out anymore. He turned around and left. It's so slow, it's like a walk, walking forward step by step. The Konoha ninjas hiding in the dark all stared one by one, staring at Uchiha Ryu, but no one dared to stop Ryu again. Tadada, in the quiet night, only Ryuban's very slight footsteps sounded. The sound was not loud, but it seemed very dull, as if stepping on everyone's heart in this way. The Konoha ninjas on the scene let out a long sigh of relief until the figure of Ryubana completely disappeared on the street. Many people didn't realize until this time that their backs were completely wet with cold sweat at this moment. Being blown by the cold wind is a bit of a bone. Whoosh whoosh. Ibis and some other upper ninjas jumped out for the first time, using the instant technique to rush to the front of Uzumaki Kushina. Anxiously asked, Master Jiu Zine, are you okay? I'm fine. Uzumaki Jiu Zine shook his head, also launched the instantaneous technique and left, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Everyone, the way people, Uchiha Tomatake also gave orders to all the Uchiha people, and within a short while, the Uchiha clan evacuated cleanly. They can't wait to return to the clan land now, to see the clan who has been abnormal to the extreme and crush Konoha with their own power in a blink of an eye. There was only a mess left on the scene, as well as the Konoha ninjas who looked at each other, panicked, and at a loss. Konoha's situation can be said to be extremely bad. 3 generations were killed, the root boss was killed, and the Dark Army leader was killed. Of course, the entire ANB is basically very few left. In addition, the patriarchs of several big families were also killed. It can be said that the entire Konoha leadership was almost completely killed by Uchiha Ryubana. In terms of seniority, only 4 generations of wife Kuzuna Uzumaki remained, but Kushina had never asked Konoha's affairs for a long time, only being at ease with his own personal strength. What's more, Uchiha Ryubana killed so many people before, but finally let go of Uzumaki Kushina alone, which indeed revealed an abnormality. It has to be conjectured, everyone, The most urgent thing is to stabilize Konoha's situation first. Hyuga Nisasa stepped forward at this time. Although he was just a white-eyed clerk, he was the younger brother of the head of the family. He had to stand up without the head of the Konoha group when Hyuga had been killed. The same goes for the senior leaders of the pig, deer, and butterfly tribes. Everyone simply touched their heads and quickly decided what they should do now, clearing the battlefield, this is of course needless to say, and then to appease the frightened villagers in the village. The most important thing is to block the news as much as possible. Once the news that Konoha was hit so badly came out, Konoha would be really dangerous. Those other villages will never let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After arranging some Zhongren to perform the tasks of clearing the battlefield and appeasing the villagers, some high-level leaders of Konoha Ozu, such as Hyuga Nisa, Nara Suzaku, and Akuto Ryubu, as well as Shinobu, who held important positions in the village, such as Marino Ibuki, all gathered in the Hyuga clan, started to discuss how Konoha would survive this crisis. Everyone's complexion is dignified and solemn to the extreme, and the mood is heavy and worried to the extreme. Tonight Konoha's goblin can be said to be the biggest crisis Konoha has encountered since the establishment of the village. It is no exaggeration to say that Konoha is really in danger of life and death. Chapter 187. Compared with the lowness of Konoha's high levels, the atmosphere in the Uchiha clan can be said to be high and full of joy. In the clan square, almost all Uchiha people gathered here, and every face was filled with wonder and enthusiasm. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Ryubana is so perverted. Yes, so many Konoha bosses were easily killed by him alone. Even Kyuubi looks like a toy in front of Ryubana. In the past, Liubian was silent, but I didn't expect it to be so. Against the sky, there is a real evildoer in my Uchiha clan, even Uchiha Madara, isn't it? I think maybe only the resurrection of the ninja Senjutsu will be able to compete with Ryubana. Ha, with Ryubian alone. Why don't you worry about my Uchiha clan rising? Everyone was talking frantically, like chicken blood, excited to the extreme. At this moment, Uchiha Ryubana has become the idol of all Uchiha clan. Chapter 124. We Uchiha's clan, officially reversed. While the Uchiha clan members gathered in the square to carnival, Ryujin seemed like a okay person and returned to his room calmly, but he immediately felt that the atmosphere in the room was very wrong. When I looked up, I saw Uchiha's turbid fire and Uchiha Mezumi's couple, looking at him with a very complex look of shock, excitement, relief, and disbelief. Father and mother, did you all see it at that time? Liu Ren smiled slightly, changed his shoes and went into the house, and sat down in front of his parents. The Uchiha turbid Ho couple nodded subconsciously, and now they are still a little dizzy, unable to recover. The turmoil made when Ryubana showed off his supernatural power was really too big. The entire Uchiha clan and even Konoha were alarmed, and the two Uchiha turbid fires were naturally attracted to the past. Following the Uchiha tribe, they went to the scene and saw with their own eyes how Ryu turned his hands to cover the clouds and the hands to rain, how to trample all the big guys like Jilaya, Hyuga Nizu, Chudao Tangdong like dogs, how to trample Nine Tails like weak chickens. They have never believed that their son's strength will be so strong that it is almost abnormal. Is this really my son? They even asked themselves this more than once. Liu Ren, we didn't expect that you actually possess such terrible power. After a long time, the Uchiha turbid Ho couple shook their heads and sighed. Isn't this a good thing? Liu Ren shrugged and smiled softly. The Uchiha's Huaharo couple couldn't help showing a smile on their faces when they heard this. Anyone who knew their son was so good would be so relieved. However, immediately after, Uchiha's muddy face showed a look of worry. But Ryubana, you killed so many people in Konoha? How do you end up next? As a result, Liu Ren broke with Konoha completely, and this is not a matter of Ryukin alone, but a matter of the Uchiha clan. I can end it whatever I want, Liu Ren said, a domineering sentence. Now Konoha's future is not in Konoha's decision, but I have the final say. Uchiha opened his mouth in turbid fire, and was shocked by Ryu's domineering words, but when he thought about it, he found that he was speechless with Liubian's current power. Isn't that the same thing? Dang dang dang. While talking with his parents, the door of the room was knocked gently, and Uchiha Mezumi got up and opened the door. When he saw several high-ranking figures standing at the door, Mezumi Uchiha was taken aback for a moment. The patriarch, the first elder, the second elder, and the elders. Standing outside the gate was Uchiha Fudage, as well as several elders of the Uchiha clan who really held great power. True Spring, don't be so polite, Uchiha Tomotique hurriedly said politely to Uchiha Mezumi. We have something to discuss with Ryuban, and I hope it doesn't bother you. Even if Fuayu used to have no arrogance, he still had the majesty of being the leader of the clan. And he would never be so polite to an ordinary clan member now that the posture is so low. It is obviously because of Liu Jian, my patriarch. Elders, please come in. Uchiha Mizumi hurriedly and politely invited Uchiha Fudake and a few elders in. And Uchiha in the house got up to entertain only Ryubana and was light and breezy from beginning to end. Seeing the patriarch and elders, he simply said hello. Uchiha Tomatake also didn't care. After all, in terms of the strength displayed by Ryubana, the weight in the clan far exceeded his clan leader. Ha, Ryubana, you really make us so miserable. Liu Edge, tonight, you really gave us a big surprise. Several of the elders around Fuyu couldn't help laughing out loud. Those are all radicals among the Uchiha clan's higher-ranking clan, who advocate rebelling against Konoha now that Ryubana can do what they usually only imagine but never do. How can they be calmed down? I'm almost laughing and being, okay, patriarch, elders, please sit down. After Uchiha Minazumi cleared the place, Ryu beckoned to several high-level officials and said the crowd knelt down around Ryubana. And Uchiha Tomatake first expressed his strong appreciation for Ryubana's strength, and then he explained his intentions. Ryu Blade, where are we? Uchiha's next course? We want to hear your opinion. Uchiha Tomatake looked at Ryu Blade sternly and asked, Patriarch, Ryubana, what else can you hesitate about? Now that we Uchiha and Konoha don't have any room for relaxation, it's better to replace them. Yes, Konoha's vitality is badly hurt now. It is our golden opportunity once in a lifetime, so don't miss it. The only way to quickly end Konoha's chaos is for us Uchiha to stand up and take over Konoha. Chapter 188. Several elders prompted to Uchiha Tomatake and Ryu one after another, and their attitudes were already highly consistent if there were a few elders of the Lord Insect before. Then now, after Ryubana has completely overturned Konoha's situation, they have also changed their views. Now Konoha has been smashed and crushed and brought to his mouth. Wouldn't it be sick if he didn't eat his brain? They had concerns before, but because Konoha was too powerful, Uchiha just didn't move. Patriarch, what do you mean? Liu Ren did not speak. He waited until the elders had finished speaking, then looked at Fuyu and asked, after Konoha was cleansed by you, his vitality was greatly injured, and now there is a group of dragons without a leader, scattered in sand. This chaotic situation is very deadly. If the news goes out, other countries will definitely not let go of this great opportunity, and they will definitely take action against Konoha. Even if we don't talk about external threats, Konoha and Uchiha are already in a turmoil. It is impossible for us to stay outside. To end this situation as soon as possible, we need a strong force to stand up and control Konoha. Now, only our Uchiha clan has this kind of power, and now we are the Uchiha clan who can save Konoha. Uchiha Tomatake also made his point clear. Ryubana also nodded secretly. The best solution right now is indeed for the Uchiha clan to officially take over Konoha's authority and take control of Konoha. After all, Konoha is really riddled with holes and scattered sand, and his strength can be said to be a cliff-like decline. To put it more bluntly, Konoha now has no strength to keep the village running, not to mention that he can't cope with the tigers and wolves outside. Even the problems in the village can't be solved. Konoha would really collapse if he tried again. This is not what the Uchiha clan wanted to see. Even if the Uchiha clan had any opinions on Konoha, they didn't want to see Konoha's death. After all, this was their home anyway. It is also the homeland jointly formed by them and the Senshou clan. Also, I was walking around in the village just now and found that all the people in the clan are in high spirits. I am afraid that the patriarch of me can't hold it down anymore. Uchiha Tomatake added another sentence. Now a very realistic question is also in front of us. If it is not, it will not be left to his patriarch. The spark in the hearts of Uchiha's clan, being so stimulated by Ryugen tonight, has turned into a raging fire, and it can't be suppressed. If you force it to suppress it, the situation will be completely out of control. Since everyone agrees, then, let's go the other way. Ryu opened his mouth and nodded. He naturally hoped that Konoha would stabilize as soon as possible. Moreover, after so many years, Hokage should also be the Uchiha clan. The words of Ryuzen will lift the spirits of Uchiha Tomatake and others. If this kind of plan lacks the support of people like Ryun, Uchiha Fumatake and the others always feel that they have no confidence in their hearts. Seeing that Liu Ren agrees with them now, I can't help but feel a lot more stable. In that case, Ryubana, come with me to meet the people of the tribe. If you don't go, I'm afraid they will be crazy. Uchiha Tomatake officially sent out an invitation to Ryubana again. After Ryubana pondered for a while, he agreed. Well, let's go. Anyway, after the earth-shattering battle tonight, Liu Ren has completely come to the surface, and it is no longer possible to be like the past. It is all right now to meet the people of the tribe with a new identity. Right now Ryubana followed Uchiha Tamatake and the elders to the clan square. Konoha is no longer good, now it's Uchiha's turn to be in charge. In the past, Konoha suppressed us so much, now we must not let go of this opportunity. Brothers and sisters, let's go to the patriarch, and we will overthrow Konoha in one fell swoop. As expected by Uchiha Tamatake, the square was already full of Uchiha tribesmen, and each one seemed to be beaten with blood and looked a little crazy. Almost everyone is yelling, screaming, and roaring. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as boiling anti-action. The patriarch is here, Uchiha Ryubana is here, it's Uchiha Ryubana. When everyone saw Ryubana and the patriarch appear together, after a moment of stun, they began to cheer more and more enthusiastically. Everyone's gaze towards Ryubana was filled with incomparable worship and fanaticism, and they wished to come over to worship Ryubana. Ryubana just appeared here without saying a word, bringing the atmosphere of the scene to the culmination. Everyone, please be quiet. It wasn't until Uchiha Fudake stopped drinking several times that the scene became quiet. Everyone, I know that since the battle between Ryujin and Konoha's senior leaders, you all have some ideas. Given that our family has been treated unfairly by Konoha for a long time, I can understand your thoughts. Not long ago, several elders and I went to Ryujin to discuss the future direction of our Uchiha clan. Speaking of this, the whole scene has become silent, and every Uchiha clan has his eyes fixed on Uchiha Tamatake. My heart is full of endless expectations. Finally, we reached a consensus. For the stability and development of the village, we, the Uchiha clan, must stand up and stabilize the situation when the village is in danger. Next, we will take over Konoha. When the news broke, the entire Uchiha clan's grounds boiled directly, and the noise almost overturned the roof. I don't know how many Uchiha people are thinking about the arrival of this moment all the time, but now, the dream has really come true. Okay, don't gather here for now, and go back separately. A few of us and Ryubana will discuss the details of the next action. It's all gone. Chapter 189. After the people on the square went back contentedly, Uchiha Tamatake went to the meeting room with Ryuzan and the elders discussed together what to do next. I proposed that Uchiha Ryubana be the 5th generation Naruto. An old Uchi wavelength spoke up. Now that the Uchiha clan had already planned to take over Konoha, it was logical to have Uchiha clan as Hokage. In fact, this candidate was originally suitable for Uchiha Tamatake, but considering that Ryu had just launched a trick in the village, Uchiha Tamatake might not be able to suppress the scene at all. The town can't live in the place after all. There are too many people killed by Ryubana. People like Jiraiya, Zuluri, and Hyuganisa who are well known in the village and trusted by the villagers. Ryujian did not show any mercy at all. Now the attitude of the village towards the Uchiha clan can be imagined. Only when Liu Ren was so strong that he was perverted and strong enough to suppress all dissatisfaction, could he be able to hold the current Konoha? Not bad. Hearing this, Uchiha Tamatake couldn't help but nodded in agreement. Now only Ryuhan can be a Hokage to stabilize the situation. Uchiha Tamatake is quite self-aware. Everyone at the scene was not a fool. The situation in front of Konoha determined that there was no other suitable candidate besides Liu Jian, so this matter was so happily agreed. Liu Ren just thought about it for a moment, and then agreed. He naturally understood the situation in front of Konoha. Really only he could do it. It's so pitiful. He was really forced to be the Hokage, but it seems that it's good to feel what it's like to be a Naruto. After all, as a Naruto fan, they are all reborn in Konoha. It is a pity not to sit in this supreme position if it's not interesting. Wait until the situation stabilizes, then abdicate and let Xian go. After Ryubana thought for a while, he made a decision. Alright, then I'm not welcome. Ryu Ren nodded, and said to Uchiha Tamatake. When Uchiha Fumatake and the other elders saw that Ryu agreed, they all couldn't help showing a relieved look. Chapter 125. I want to be Hokage. Who is for and who is against? Since Liu Ren agreed to be this Naruto, then we have two main problems to solve next. First of all, Konoha is now in a special period of critical survival. The nomination of Naruto candidates does not need to follow the normal process. We can push Ryuki out in the name of the Uchiha clan. This first step is not difficult. The difficulty is the next vote of confidence. Every Naruto candidate needs to pass a vote of confidence in the village, including special Shengun, before he can serve as Naruto. This is the first major issue. The second major issue is the wishes of ordinary villagers. Ryubana's methods are a bit cruel this time, and the villagers may resist it more, even if the confidence vote of the Shinins is passed. If the villagers unanimously oppose it, there will be a very embarrassing situation. After determining the major premise for Ryuzen as Hokage, Uchiha Tamatake and several elders began to discuss more detailed issues in general. It is nothing more than two aspects. 1. How to get the Shangren in the village and get their vote of confidence. 2. How to deal with ordinary villagers. To put it more bluntly, is to reverse the fishing boat. In response to these two issues, Uchiha Tamatake and several elders began a fierce discussion. Patriarch, several elders. I think you might think a little too much. After listening for a while, Liu Ren shook his head and smiled. Strong enough power can crush everything. Let's talk about it slowly. I'll go to talk to the ninjas in Konoha. It is estimated that they are now discussing how to deal with the Uchiha clan. After Liu Ren said these words, he immediately entered the fairy mode, and his perception instantly covered the entire Konoha. The first time I felt it, in the hall of the Hyuga clan, there were many powerful upper ninja chakras gathered. Some of the chakra attributes are very obvious and recognizable. For example, the Nara clan's partial yin escape chakra, and the Kyudeo clan's partial yang escape chakra. Ryubana can be distinguished at once. Some other families, such as the Inuzuka family and the Yaun family, also have very obvious family characteristics. As long as one or two members of his family have been in contact, the members of the tribe can basically be distinguished. So what was going on in the Hyuga clan? Liu Ren knew instantly as soon as he felt it. With a thought in his mind, a spatial vortex appeared in front of him, inhaling Ryubana's entire person into it, and disappeared. Space pupil technique? This ability of Ryubana's awakening is really enviable. The great elder looked at the direction of Ryubana's disappearance, and couldn't help but sigh. According to the battle not long ago, and the information obtained from the battle 2 years ago, Liu Ren should have at least several different pupil techniques. At the same time, he also has the two supreme Eyes of Reincarnation and Reincarnation. I really don't know how this evildoer was born. Another elder also sighed again and again, with a look of admiration on his face compared with the high spirits and vigor of the Uchiha clan. The Hyuga clan at this moment can be said to be melancholy and extremely depressed under the auspices of Konoha's only remaining bigwigs, such as Hyuga Nissa and Marino Ibuki. The senior members of the major families, such as Nara Suzuko and Akuto Ryu, are basically gathered together, discuss together how Konoha will survive the crisis before him. But they have been discussing for a long time, and they still haven't negotiated a solution to the problem. After all, Konoha's remaining power is far from Uchiha's. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. Don't say it was dealing with such a huge family. Even if Uchiha Ryubana alone was brought out, it was a big mountain pressing on all of them. Everyone, I know your current mood. I am as angry and unwilling as you are now, but do we need to figure out what is most important to us now? At the depressive and boring scene, Nara Suzuku stood up and said, looking at everyone with a serious face, the most important thing now is not how to deal with Uchiha Ryubana, not how to avenge those dead compatriots, but how to keep Konoha. The Uchiha clan has now completely torn their faces with Konoha, and they have completely stood on the opposite side of Konoha. If they continue to attack Konoha at this time, can we rely on us to hold Konoha? The voice of Nara Suzuku was deafening, making it impossible for the people on the scene to answer, and it also made the atmosphere of the scene more serious. This is only Konoha's internal problem. If Konoha's current situation is known to other villages, what do you think they would do? What do you think Konoha will face? Nara Suzuku continued to make up the knife, and 2 consecutive sentences made everyone's complexion even more ugly, because this was a more difficult and more realistic problem. Konoha can now be said to be in a critical moment of life and death that has never been seen before. If one of us does not handle it properly, there will be a danger of destroying the village. Everyone, this is definitely not alarmist. The hall suddenly became quiet, and it seemed that everyone's breathing seemed so heavy. Suzuku, what do you say? After being silent for a moment, Hyuga Hirasashi looked at Nara Suzuku and asked solemnly, first, try to appease the Uchiha clan. Even if you make a certain degree of concessions, you can't anger them anymore. We Konoha can no longer withstand any losses. Nara Suzuku gritted his teeth, and said, such a serious expression on his face. Boom. Marino Ibuki suddenly patted the table again. Sandame, Mito Menayan, Hyuga Patriarch, Yamanaka Keiichi, there are so many Anban Kaminin lives. And Ryubana's hands are covered with Konoha's blood. But you want to bow your head to him, this is reality. Ibuki, Uchiha Ryubana has the power to overthrow the entire village. Unless it is the resurrection of the first generation, no one can compete. Do you still want Konoha to continue to bleed? The scene of the corpse mountain and the sea of blood not long ago is not enough to wake you up, Narasuzuku whispered to Morinoe Hiki in a deep voice. Morinoe's fist suddenly clenched, and his teeth snapped. After a long while, a sentence broke out between the teeth. I know, but I'm not reconciled. For the continuation of the village and the future of Konoha, we have to make some sacrifices, even with dignity. Everyone, I can choose to bear humiliation for Konoha. How about you? After Narasuzuku finished speaking these two sentences, his eyes began to sweep across everyone's faces one by one. No one answered. Although everyone knows what Narasuzuku is telling the truth, it is really hard to accept, as expected of the Nara clan. They can maintain a clear and sensible mind at all times. In the quiet scene, suddenly a voice of approval rang coldly. The expressions of everyone at the scene changed drastically, and no one could remain calm because they all knew whose voice it was. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw a special vortex appearing in front of them. And a young man's figure appeared in front of everyone in the circle of ripples. That person simply stopped there, but it was like a demon descending, causing everyone on the scene to shrink their pupils and tighten their bodies. There are even many people who have sweat on their foreheads. What is even more exaggerated is that some people subconsciously took out some ninjas such as Kunai and Shuriken. I was so nervous. Uchiha Raya Blade. It took several seconds for Morinoe Hiki to burst out these words from her mouth. What are you doing? It just so happens. Basically, Konoha has her little weight. Take this opportunity to announce one thing to you. Liu Ren didn't pay attention to Morinoe Hiki, but walked to the center casually and spoke slowly, as if to say something trivial. I, Uchiha Ryubana, will serve as Konoha's 5th generation of Hokage. As soon as this was said, the whole scene became extremely silent, and everyone couldn't believe their ears. Is there a mistake? The executioner who almost killed Konoha's high-level executives, so grandly demanding to be Hokage. Is there anything more ridiculous than this? My words are finished. Who agrees and who opposes? After a few seconds of dead silence on the scene, Liu Bian opened his mouth and asked the crowd lightly. Everyone's fists were suddenly clenched, and their teeth were clenched so that the masseter muscle roots rolled, showing the extent of anger. This Uchiha Ryubana is so bullying, unreasonable. Uchiha Ryubana, do you really think you can cover the sky with Konoha? Yamanaka Yanaka shouted. Convection Blade Ryubian didn't speak. The eyes in his pupils switched directly to the reincarnation eyes, and he reached out to Yamanaka Ryochi. Yamanaka flew towards Ryuban uncontrollably, and was caught by Ryuban's neck with his hand, and was so caught in the air the power in Liubian fairy mode was far stronger than that of the General Shangren. It was pinched until Yamanaka's bones were about to break, and his breathing was also interrupted. The lack of oxygen caused him to struggle wildly with his hands and feet, but he couldn't exert any strength. He was such a big person, but being pinched so casually by Liubian, it turned out to be like a weak little sheep, letting Liubian handle it. Do you think you are loyal to Konoha? On the contrary, you have harmed Konoha. Liu Ren had endless indifference on his face. Those who don't know the situation will always do bad things. Ryubian is really not an exaggeration. If he gets annoyed by Ryo Yamanaka, let go of Konoha. So if other villages call, who else can Konoha count on? Is it the mountain family? Chapter 191. Stop, you are presumptuous. Several shouts of anger exploded at this time, and several ninjas rushed towards Liu Ren in a furious rage. Shen Luo Shianteng, Liubian waved his hand casually, and all the people who rushed up were knocked off. Everyone at the scene almost snapped their teeth. Is this Uchiha Ryuki too bullying? It simply ignores all of them. In fact, Liubian would not be so arrogant in normal times, but in this situation, Liubian adopted a strategy of pushing others with force. After all, the two sides have such a big enmity, and the best way to suppress all dissatisfaction with absolute strength. Calm down. Calm down everyone. Narasuzuku stood up and shouted to everyone. At this time, coupled with the fact that everyone was deterred by Liubian's random power, no one jumped out anymore. Uchiha Ryubana is right. We have to figure out the situation now, Narasuzuku said to everyone with endless humiliation. The current situation is, we have no choice. Uchiha Ryubana, what you say? I agree. You want to be the 5th generation Hokage? I agree. Narasuzuku gritted his teeth and said to Uchiha Ryubana. After speaking, he panted heavily, as if he had used up all his strength in a few words. But then again, Narasuzuku was the first to succumb to the big monster like Ryubana, and the weight he carried was immeasurable, and it did exhaust Narasuzuku's power. Everyone, Konoha currently has no leader. In this chaotic situation, We must introduce a leader as soon as possible, even Uchiha Ryubana. Apart from Uchiha Ryubana, who else can take on this important task? I'm still the same sentence before. I'm willing to choose to bear humiliation for Konoha. How about you? How can it be repaired? A person who was so gentle in Hyuga and Hikaba burst into foul language, and he gritted his teeth. I also agree with Uchiha Ryubana as Hokage. What about you? Who agrees and who opposes? Liu Ren looked at the other ninjas one by one, and everyone stared at Liu Ren with gazes that wanted to eat people. It was an expression that was extremely angry, suffocated to the extreme, and had to be forcibly held back. They are not fools. Knowing that what Narasuzaku said is correct, but they can directly give in to Ryubana. They really can't do it. If there is no objection, then I shall assume that I agree to it all, and whoever opposes it is too late to say. Liu Bian glanced at the crowd again, and repeated it with a slight modification. There was still no one at the scene to answer. This kind of a question made them easier to answer. After all, silence is enough. Yes, there aren't that many Konoha hopeless guys. Liu Ren nodded with satisfaction. A room of teeth clenched and rattling noises one after another. However, Liu Bian's face suddenly became cold at this time, and he snorted, "You have to be clear, now Konoha needs me, this Hokage. Not I need Konoha? Do you think that someone with my strength would be worthy of a Naruto position? Speaking of the most fundamental thing, you still have to beg me to be Hokage. If I am not happy, I will choose to quit at any time." Shangren's vote of confidence. "I will give you 7 days to fix the fishing boats and the villagers, otherwise, I won't do it." After putting down these words, Liu Jianli ignored all the big men who were so angry that they were about to explode on the spot, and directly used their divine power to leave. Chapter 126 Myomu Mountain's conspiracy to deal with Liu Bian's big move. Outrageous. Uchiha Ryubana is simply too damnable. He is a traitor who wants to be Hokage, and he wants us to help him deal with all the problems. Absurd. It's ridiculous. What does Uchiha Ryu think of us? How can it be repaired? That fellow is really damnable. After Liu Bian left, the hall suddenly sounded one after another clamor and anger, and everyone was about to explode with Liu Bian's attitude. An executioner with Konoha's blood in his hands is enough to be Hokage, and he needs Konoha's people to work hard behind him to help him. This is nothing short of a slippery world. The curse in the hall lasted for several minutes before it gradually became quiet. It's not that everyone is unwilling to scold, but that the scolding is a little tired. Has everyone's anger disappeared? The coolest person was the Nara clan. Narasuzaku saw that the time was about to come, and stood up again. If the atmosphere hasn't disappeared, then continue to vent the anger in your heart. If everyone's anger is gone, can we discuss what to do next? Narasuzaku said in a deep voice to everyone. Only then did the hall become quiet. Suzaku, if you have any suggestions, you might as well just say it. Hyuga Nisasa cleared his throat and said to Narasuzaku. Everyone also looked at Narasuzaku, although it is difficult to accept, but Uchiha Ryubana is right. Now Konoha needs Uchiha Ryubana, not Uchiha Ryubana needs Konoha. Everyone actually knows this, but they don't want to admit it in their hearts. Narasuzaku's 2 sentences can be said to be extremely accurate and accurate to explain the truest psychology of all the ninjas on the scene. Intellectually, everyone knew that they really needed Ryubian, the Naruto, to take control of Konoha. After all, if they don't do this, they will rebel in the current situation of the Uchiha clan, and the result of a collision with it will be the death of the village. What's more, in Konoha's current chaotic situation, it is indeed necessary for a strong enough person to stand up and preside over the overall situation. This person, Jile, is enough weight. And no one else on the scene has enough weight. Chapter 192. Tsunade can do the same, but for so many years after Tsunade has been away from Konoha, he won't be able to find it for a while. But if the above 2 people preside over the overall situation, the village will definitely head towards an internal struggle with Uchiha. Taking into account the strength of Uchiha Ryubana, the village is destined to have only one ending, ashes. No matter how you look at it, Uchiha Ryubana as Hokage is the best choice in line with Konoha's current interests. In this way, the Uchiha clan will not rebel, and Konoha will also have a powerful force that can shake the ninja village to support it. In this way, Konoha has the power to resist when faced with the coveting of other villages. But emotionally, few people really can accept this seemingly absurd scene. Everyone still needs time to accept and adjust, but I don't care what you think. Since we have accepted that Liu Ren will be Hokage, then please do the following things. First, everyone present is responsible for the upper tolerance and special upper tolerance of their respective families, to ensure that there are no problems in the vote of confidence. Secondly, for the other Shangren and special Shangren, we will make a list of them as soon as possible, and we will lobby separately. Third, It is the problem that needs to be solved most before our eyes. We must discuss how to explain it to the public in the shortest possible time. At that time, although Ryubana killed Konoha's high-level staff to terrible corpse all over the field, except for being seen by some villagers when the battle started. The subsequent process did not flow into the eyes of ordinary villagers. When Konoha Ninja was alarmed and rushed over, he immediately sealed off the scene and isolated the ordinary villagers early. So now for ordinary villagers, they just know that something big has happened in the village. Something big has happened, but no one knows what exactly it is. What's more, Uchiha Ryubana's killing of the third generation of Eyes and the killing of Mito Menayan was indeed due to reason. This gave Narusuzaku and others room for manipulation. While the dark waves surging from all sides of Konoha Myomu Mountain, a man covered with bandages was lying on the ground with his eyes closed. His face was extremely pale, and his breathing seemed very weak. If it weren't for the slight ups and downs on the chest, it wouldn't be surprising even if someone treated it as a corpse. This person was not someone else, but just used the reverse channeling to escape to Jalaya in Myomu Mountain in time. And beside Jilai, there are two very short toads standing stubbornly, looking at Jilai from time to time. His face is full of worry. Surprisingly, it is Shenzuo Xianren and Zihima Xianren, baby his dad. I really don't know who made the move, and even heard Zio Zile like this. Immortal Zhi Ma sighed solemnly, thinking about the injuries that Jilai also had when he first came to Myomu Mountain. Immortal Zihima felt shocking. If I come here a while later, I'm afraid I will just die. Shenzuo Xianren's brows were also twisted into a ball. Jilai was injured in this way, but he didn't channel any of Myomu Mountain's toads, and he didn't use Xianchu. This seems very unusual. Cough cough cough. Suddenly there was a coughing sound around him, but Jalaya finally opened his eyes leisurely, and the two immortals Shenzuo Zihima hurriedly gathered around. Little Jiraiya, how do you feel? The two immortals asked with great concern. Two immortals, the big thing is not good. Konoha is about to be wiped out. Zile also said to the two immortals Shenzuo in an anxious manner. Nani? Little Jiraiya, do you know what you are talking about? Are you hurt too badly? Immortal Zhimar was stunned when he heard this, and then couldn't believe the truth. Konoha is the #1 ninja village in the ninja world today, and the strength is the strongest among all ninja villages. How could it be destroyed? It's really two immortals. 3 generations, Mito Menayan, Hyuga Nizu, Yamanaka Keiichi all died, and also killed dozens of people, in addition to dozens of Shangnin. Konoha is now at a critical moment. Jilei struggled to sit up. The anxious expression on his face aggravated immortals Shenzuo and immortals Zhima couldn't believe their ears. Did Konoha have such a shocking change? How could it be possible with Konoha's strength? Some of them couldn't believe this kind of thing in their hearts, but they also knew that Jilai wouldn't talk nonsense about this kind of thing. To immortals, please also immediately. Jiraiya originally wanted MT Miyagi to support Konoha, but he stopped halfway through the conversation with the strength of Uchiha Ryubana. Even if the toad of MT Miyagi is gone, nothing can be changed. It only increased casualties. The power of Uchiha Ryubana is really too strong. What's the matter? Zio Zilaya, Shenzuo Xianren saw the bitterness on his face, and couldn't help but ask again. The enemy's strength is too strong. Even Miao Mushin can't change much. Zilai also shook his head, revealing a hint of despair in a wry smile. Immortal Shenzuo and immortal Zhima became more and more shocked. What kind of enemy was it that made Jilai lose hope in Myomu Mountain? Make Jilai, who has always been extremely determined, show hopelessness. The despair of Jiraiya had never been seen by the two immortals. Little Jilai, what happened? Immortal Shenzuo and immortal Zhima looked at each other, and then asked Jilai with solemn expressions. It's Uchiha Ryubana. The muscles on Jilai's face twitched for several times, before he resisted his grief and anger, and told the two immortals a series of things that had happened in Konoha. Isn't that impossible? Zio Jiraiya, that Uchiha Ryubana has the eyes of 6 immortals and reincarnated eyes at the same time. Chapter 193. He is not only proficient in various S-level ninjutsu and blood succession boundaries, such as Flying Thunder God, Magnetic Escape Dust, Helix Pill, etc., but also masters a variety of pupil skills. He almost killed all Konoha's high-level officials alone, and dozens of shinobu. Immortal Shenzuo and immortal Zhima didn't know how many times they interrupted Jilaiya, or how many exclaims they made. Everything that Jilaiya said was really shocking. The two immortals also took a long time, and after repeated confirmations, they finally accepted this incredible scene. Now they finally understood why Jilai would say that Maya Amashin was powerless if that Uchiha Ryubana is really so abnormal. Maya Omu Mountain really won't have much effect, then Uchiha Ryuki is so terrible, unless it is the resurrection of the first generation. Who else in the ninja world will be Uchiha's opponent? Jilei also sighed in despair originally. He just said it unintentionally, but he didn't expect this to be heard in the ears of Shenzuo Xianren and Zhi Ma Xianren. But their expressions couldn't help but move. Boy is dead, now that's the only way to use it. Immortal Zhi Ma seemed to have made a major decision. His face was extremely solemn after hearing the words. Immortal Shenzuo stared deeply at Immortal Zima, before nodding his head for a long time. Boy damn, you are right, there is no other way, boss, big sister. Do you still have a way? Jilei's eyes lit up, as if grabbing a life-saving straw, staring at the two immortals and asking, there's a way, but this way is against the heavens, we really don't want to use it. Shenzuo Xianren shook his head and sighed, boss, when is it now? Konoha is almost done. I can't take care of that much anymore. Zilai also shouted to Immortal Shenzuo. Shenzuo Xianren was silent for a while, then shook his head and sighed, and he said to Zilei Yi leisurely, in our oldest classics in Maya Omu Mountain, there is a technique that can reverse life and death and blur the gap between yin and yang, reincarnation by body. In short, this is a technique that can summon the soul of the dead from the Pure Land. Using this technique, the soul of the summoned is attached to the pre-shaped body, and the dead can be temporarily reborn. You can keep your memories, strength, and everything else, but this kind of technique is a blasphemy against the soul of the deceased. It is a kind of technique that violates the law of heaven. If there is really no other way this time, I will definitely not agree to use this technique. Immortal Shenzuo introduced to Zilai with a solemn expression. Boss, how does this technique sound like the filthy rebirth developed by Erdemu? Zilai couldn't help but complain. Yes, the reincarnation of the foul soil was developed by the child in Kai and Xiao Jianma, who imitated the reincarnation of the borrowed body. Immortal Zima nodded aside. Jiraiya, unexpectedly, behind the rebirth of the dirty soil, there is such a story. However, immediately after Jilei, he became excited. If he resurrected the first generation with the use of borrowed reincarnation, wouldn't it be possible to deal with Uchiha Ryubana? After all, the first generation is a man called the of ninjas. Even if Uchiha Ryubana is more powerful, it is impossible to beat the first generation goals. Boss, eldest sister, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and reincarnate the first generation head, Jilei said hurriedly. What's the hurry? How can this technique be so simple? Even the reincarnated body takes a few days to complete, not to mention the following rituals. At the fastest, it will take a week. A week, Jilei gritted his teeth. Boss, big sister, please start quickly. Konoha. A round of rising sun slowly rises, and the gentle but not blazing sun shines on the ground, kicking off a new day. Konoha, which had been dormant for the whole night, regained its vitality again, but seeing the green trees and red flowers fluttering in the sun and the wind, birds singing, insects singing and flying around, it appeared peaceful. But above Konoha's central plaza, the atmosphere is extremely depressing because there are so many people standing there. All of them were gathered by Konoha's senior officials in the official name. Everyone was crowded, and it is not an exaggeration to describe it side by side. Basically, the entire village of Konoha gathered here. They were all waiting for Konoha to give them an explanation. What happened last night? Yeah, I heard that a lot of people have died, and even the Nine Tails were dispatched. It's terrible. All the houses in that area have been destroyed. You can still smell blood now. Basically all the ninjas in the village passed last night, right? No matter what it is, it must be an earth-shattering event. Uchiha Ryu and Jiraiya-sama are in a battle. I have seen it with my own eyes. What is going on? All the villagers were talking frantically, and a mood of anxiety, panic, and anxiety began to spread among the crowd. All of them are waiting for Hokage-sama to give them a reasonable explanation, but to everyone's surprise, they waited for a while, and Master Naruto did not show up. Instead, he waited for the Naruto consultant, Zuen Kaoru, 3 generations of his wife, Kausuna Uzumaki, and Marino Ibuki, who held important positions in the village, such as Shinobu, Hyuga Nissa, and other high-ranking clans. This made the doubts in the hearts of the villagers more serious. Chapter 127. Konoha's Great Change. Ninja World shocked everyone. An incredible thing happened in the village last night. I believe you felt it too. I know you have a lot of questions in your heart. Don't worry, we call everyone here today to tell you the truth of the matter, but before that, I hope you can prepare mentally first, because what happened last night was a bit too heavy. Chapter 194. Under the gaze of all the villagers, the oldest among Konoha's senior executives, Zuankan Zayachin, spoke slowly with a serious face, said in a deep voice to everyone. As soon as this was said, the atmosphere on the scene became even more depressing, and even people like Zuan Zayachin said such things. It can be seen that what happened last night must be earth-shattering. What happened last night is closely related to the Hyuga clan, and it is even said that it was completely caused by the Hyuga clan. So let the Hyuga-sama tell you about this matter. Turning to bed, Zayachin said to the villagers again. Pushing out Hyuga Nikkei, Hyuga Hisashi took 2 steps and told everyone about the fact that the U9 mission tried to take Hinata. Hinata abducted at the time, but was killed by Uchiha Ryubana of the Konoha Guard. The death of someone in the U9 mission was a riot at that time, and everyone knew it. The official statement at the time was that the U9 mission and the Hyuga clan were competing against each other, but the Hyuga clan failed to hold back their strength, causing Kuroki to be accidentally injured. As a result, Kuroki died, but in the end, thanks to Konoha's efforts, the 2 sides reached a reconciliation, which did not affect the progress of the peace talks. But now Hyuga Risari gave it a completely different version, which immediately caused an uproar in the village. Sir Hyuga Hitra, didn't the U9 mission members be beaten to death by your tribe? Yes. Why are you different from what Naruto-sama told us? At the time, I thought this explanation was a bit strange. Is there such a hidden feeling behind it? The villagers reacted very much. There were doubters, negators, suddenly realized, contemplative and silent, and of course, there were more ruthless critics. You guys, with so many of us standing here, isn't it enough to give you peace of mind? What the Hyuga-sama said is true. Turning to bed, Zayachin spoke repeatedly on the side, which temporarily dispelled everyone's doubts. After all, Kahara made a lot of sense in turning to bed. Right now, standing next to Hyuga Nissa, there are more than a dozen prominent figures who play a decisive role in Konoha. How can it be faked with so many endorsements by big people? But, Hyuga-sama, if this is the case, doesn't it mean that Hokage-sama is lying? Someone shouted unacceptably. Yes, Sandaime is lying. Things are not what he said. Hyuga Nisaka gritted his teeth and said loudly to everyone, although Sandaime is really lying, Hyuga has always been loyal to the village, so it is against his original intention to expose the shortness of Sandaime in front of the villagers. But now, in order to push Ryubi into power as soon as possible and stabilize the village, I have no choice but to do so. Nonsense. How can Lord I lie? Yes, Lord I is not that kind of person. Hyuga-sama, is there any misunderstanding? I don't believe it. Why did Lord Sandaime do that? The 3 generations of Mu'ai have been in charge of Konoha for a long time, and they are still very prestigious in the hearts of the villagers. Hyuga Nissa just told the truth, and many villagers shouted loudly, everyone, please listen to me slowly, and you will know why Sandaime did that. Hyuga Nissa was full of breath, and his voice overwhelmed everyone's discussion and reached everyone's ears clearly. In order to save Miss Hyuga Hinata, Ryuzen killed the people of the U9 mission. In order to give an explanation to the U9 mission, Sandaime actually planned to kill Uchiha Ryuki. However, Uchiha Ryu's strength was unexpectedly strong, so Sandaime's assassination of Uchiha Ryu failed. The conflict between the village and the Uchiha clan was pushed to culmination, plus the conflicts between the village and the Uchiha clan over the years. Sandaime made a terrible decision at this time. Sandaime intends to take this opportunity to destroy the Uchiha clan in one fell swoop. What everyone saw last night was the genocide against the Uchiha clan initiated by the 3rd generation. It's just that Sandaime miscalculated the strength of the Uchiha clan, which led to the failure of the mission. 3 generations, including my elder brother Hyuga Hizu, and Yamazuka Kie of the Mountain Clan, all died in this turmoil. For Konoha, this is a dark day. Many of Konoha's heroes have died in civil strife that shouldn't have happened. Hyuga Risasa modified this story slightly and told all the villagers this is also the result of discussions between Nara Suzaku and others. After all, Uchiha Ryuhun's hands were stained with the blood of many high-level Konohas. If the villagers want to accept Uchiha Ryuhi, they must let Ryuhen take over Ryubana. Uchiha needs to be portrayed as a victim. In this way, the villagers can't blame Uchiha Ryu for what he did. After all, Uchiha Ryuhi was not at fault. He just acted according to the village regulations and even saved the princess of the Hyuga clan. Under such circumstances, the 3 generations wanted to exterminate them. And what was wrong with Ryubian's resistance? But this is far from enough. Even if the villagers are really fooled into believing, the villagers will at best forgive Ryubian's tired crimes. It is absolutely impossible to accept such an executioner as Hokage. In any case, Sandaime died in his hands. Everyone will not let the killer who killed the third generation purpose replace their beloved third generation purpose, so everyone needs to take the second step, discredit the third generation. It is necessary to shatter the image of Sandaime in the hearts of the people, smash it, let the prestige of Sandaime disappear, and even make people hate Sandaime. The more this is the case, the higher the public's acceptance of Ryubana being Hokage. That's why Hyuga Nisara's statement mentioned above was a helpless solution that a group of bigwigs finally came up with after countless discussions. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How could Sandaime be such a person? Sir Nikkei, you must be lying, right? Just when Hyuga Nisara finished speaking, the entire central square exploded directly, and the noise almost overturned the sky. Chapter 195. It was really shocking what Hyuga Nisara said. It was no more than a blockbuster that was thrown into the crowd, blasting everyone out. No one believed what Hyuga Nisara said. However, all the big guys on the stage such as Kaoru, Uzumaki Kunsina, Marino Ibuki and so on all agreed with each other, and things were indeed like what Hyuga had said. It made the villagers even more confused. After all, it's impossible for so many big people to collude to deceive everyone, right? There is no such reason at all. At this time, Zhuan began to take the third step, to divert attention. Everyone, we Konoha suffered heavy losses this time because of the civil war launched by the third generation. United, Yan'an and other villages are very likely to take advantage of the fire and take advantage of the opportunity to attack Konoha. Therefore, in the recent period of time, everyone has reduced the number of outings as much as possible, and try not to go out if possible without leaving the village. Even in the village, you must always be vigilant, because the war may happen again. Sure enough, as soon as Zhuan words came out, the scene fell into widespread panic. On the contrary, most of his attention has been diverted from the incident of 3 generations launched a civil war and died. Everyone is in danger, worrying about what to do if another village calls in the future, how the wife and children will be resettled, and whether they can take care of the family. Who cares about how Sandaime died? Since this meeting, Konoha has fallen into a period of extreme depression, and every villager's face has been confused, panic, and uneasy. Almost everyone seemed to have had a funeral at home, and their faces were so gloomy that they seemed to drip. In a huge village, there was no more smiling face, a hint of laughter. Even the little kid who didn't understand anything, all had a straight-faced. Narasuzaku and others saw these situations in their eyes, but they could only sigh helplessly. This is the transitional stage that must be experienced right now. No wonder the failure of the White Fang mission spread all over the sky the next day. It turned out to be the news deliberately released by the third generation of Eyes. As soon as Kakashi's father died, the third generation wanted to clean Kakashi. If Kakashi didn't pass the test, it would be dead. The rope tree strayed into a trap on the battlefield and was killed by the detonation talisman. This is ridiculous, isn't it? Thinking about the demise of the Thousand Sho clan, isn't it horrible? Senju is the super family that established Konoha. During the 3 generations of reign, it declined to the point that only Tsunade-sama was left. Isn't this abnormal? And in this silent and depressed atmosphere, various black materials about the third generation of ghouls began to spread overwhelmingly in the village. Each of those black materials had noses and eyes, and it was spread like a decent one, which was very convincing. Like a hurricane, it quickly swept across every corner of Konoha. Basically all the villagers talked about this when they met. It only took a few days. 3 generations of Eyes changed from Hokage, whom everyone admired and loved, to a sinister, cunning, unscrupulous villain. The 3 of them have become tigers, not to mention the whole people's discussion that the power of the fishing boat is so terrible when everyone is talking about a thing. Even if that thing is not true, there will be many people who blindly believe it. Of course, the black material will not spread for no reason. This is the operation of the Uchiha clan behind the scenes. Narasuzaku and other Konoha executives also acquiesced to this behavior. A few days ago, Konoha's high-level blackening of Sarutobi Hizuki just sowed a seed in the hearts of the people, and nothing more than that was far from enough. If you want to successfully discredit the third generation, you need to continuously water and fertilize. This is exactly what the Uchiha clan is doing now. You don't need to worry about fishing boats anymore. After a few more days of brewing, the black third generation will become the mainstream of fishing boats. At that time, even if there are people who doubt it, it will not affect my ascent as Naruto. Don't worry about these at all. Walking on the street, Liu Ren couldn't help but think of it as he listened to the talk about the 3 generations of ghouls that came from time to time in his ear. But then his brows frowned slightly, and he rubbed his temples. The most painful thing right now is that the old fellow Yuri Zhenhong has forbidden to see me. Do you want to kill him? Of course, the last thought is purely a prank. In fact, Liu Ren can also understand Yuri Zhenhong. No matter who it is, she wouldn't let her daughter casually come into contact with the executioner who killed the 3 generations, Hyuga Nizu and other high-level executioners. Right, forget it, don't worry about this, you can only do it slowly, step by step. Liu Ren shrugged, shook his head and sighed, then returned directly to the clan land. When Ryujin's strength was thoroughly exposed, it seemed to be Uchiha's business card. How could Fu Yu even let Ryujin do patrols? What's more, the thrilling Konoha high-level cleaning has just passed a few days, and Liu Jian as the protagonist is not suitable for high-profile wandering around Konoha in the past few days, except for going to Zairuhan's house to find Red. Liu Ren basically stayed in the clan land, Master Liu Bian, along the way, no matter which tribe you meet, you will greet you with endless worship and fanatical convection. Blade Ryubian has become an idol of the Uchiha clan, and his popularity in the clan is terribly high. What are you talking about? The Uchiha clan rebelled, 3 generations of Hokage were killed, and countless high-level officials died in this turmoil. After several days of gestation, Konoha's major changes have inevitably spread to the ears of other countries. All the ninja villages who received this information were shocked, and immediately began to send people to investigate the results of the survey show. The rumors turned out to be true. The purpose of the 3rd generation really died in the turmoil, and Konoha's graveyard also has tombstones of great figures such as Hyuga Hizu and Yamanaka Keiichi. There are also the names of those big people on the memorial monument. In addition to those high-level officials, Konoha's dark part and ordinary Shengren also sacrificed nearly 100 people. Konoha's strength can be said to be weakened to the lowest point in history. After the information was confirmed, the entire ninja world was shaken, as if a bomb was thrown into the water of Furububo. Chapter 196. It stirred up huge waves. That's Konoha. The 3 battles that just ended, 1 pick and 4 are not at a disadvantage. Such a powerful village has been greatly damaged by the civil war. Even Hokage died. This is a golden opportunity of a lifetime. Many ninja villages are ready to move. However, not long after Ryuzen and Jiraiya started fighting, the scene was blocked by Konoha's ninja. What is circulating in the village now is the modified version of Narusuzaku and the others in order to be an Uraraya blade, and the information obtained by the major ninja villages is also this version. In this version, it is not mentioned that Konoha's high-level personnel have almost been slaughtered, but Uchiha Ryuzen is the only one. Chapter 128. Shocking change in ninja world. Yunan declares war on Konoha. Yunan village, Yunli Gorge shattering. The waterfall, which looked like a horse, poured down from the towering mountainside, arousing water spray in the sky. In addition, Yunan village was originally built in the mountains at higher altitudes, surrounded by natural mists, making Yunan seem like a paradise. Next to the waterfall that rushed down, there was a burly man who looked about 30 years old, with pale yellow hair and dark brown skin, and his whole body revealed a sense of power. The pair of many sunglasses on his face gave this majestic man a cold feeling. The big man was standing next to the beach, holding a notebook in one hand and a pen in the other, murmured in his mouth, writing and drawing on it from time to time. It seems that it is called a focus. Youth shine. My Kirabi is the leader. If you are not convinced, be careful, I shoot you. Yo. From the big guy's mouth, some very bad rap melody popped up from time to time. Undoubtedly, the guy who rushed toward his face through the screen was the 8-tailed man's Huli of Yunan village, Uncle Kirabi. Birth. Being immersed in his own beautiful composition, Kirabi's student Samu appeared in front of Kirabi by using instantaneous technique, interrupting Kirabi's thoughts. Don't bother me at this time, it will make me very annoyed. You bastard. Stupid damn. Kirabi turned around and cursed at his apprentice unceremoniously. After cursing, I couldn't help but froze for a moment, carefully recalling the 2 words that he blurted out below. It, so there's no rhyme, write it down quickly. Kirabi immediately began to write and draw on the small notebook quickly. Samu was completely forgotten in a blink of an eye. Samu covered his face. What kind of strange work did I find to be a teacher? Master B. Master Reikage convened all high-level meetings and announced something very important. Now you are the one behind, Samai said to Kirabi with a serious face, and emphasized it again. It's a very important thing, really. If there's something, brother can just take care of it by himself, and bother me again. Kirabi spit out, but looking at Samai's serious look, I also know that there is really something important. If you don't go, I'm afraid Reikage will fall directly from the sky in the next second, and a flying kick will dry on Kirabi's face. This is the experience that Kirabi has learned through countless blood lessons, so Kirabi still followed Samai to Raikage's office honestly, and when he looked around, it was really densely packed with people all are some high levels in Yunnan village. It seems that something big has happened, Kirabi murmured, and went straight to the corner and sat down. I took out my notebook and continued to write and draw, not too lazy to listen to what Lei Ying was talking about. There is an important task for you. You take me seriously, bastard. The fourth generation of Raikage. I saw that Kirabi was still like a bird, and was so angry that he jumped into the air and kicked Kirabi to the ground after clapping his hands. I seemed to have done a trivial thing, and the others in the office were calm. Obviously, I've been taking care of this scene a long time ago. It has now been confirmed that the contradiction between Konoha and Uchiha clan broke out, and the two sides launched a cruel struggle. During this struggle, many high-level leaders, including the third generation of Hokage, Hyuga Nizu, and Yamanaka Keiichi were killed, and nearly 100 Shangnin were killed. Konoha's strength has been extremely severely weakened. We must not miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Konoha has been sitting on the seat of the first ninja village for too long, but they have only inherited the shadow of the first generation of Hokage and other ancestors, and they have long been misnamed. Now, our Yunnan village is also time to let the entire ninja world take a look. Who is the real first village in the ninja world? The four generations of Lei Ying stood proudly in the eyes of everyone, and said vigorously to the high levels looking at the other senior members of Yunnan village. They were all excited and passionate on their faces. This is the ethos of the Thunder Country. It is originally a country of armed forces, and what it admires and believes in most is power. Brother, you mean, you want to start a war against Konoha? Only Kirabi, who had been blind to the outside world and focused on rap, was surprised when he heard the news. Yes, I believe that other ninja villages have also received the same information. We have to take down Konoha in one fell swoop before other villages can respond. Lei Ying Ai waved his hand and said with great momentum after the meeting, Yunnan village issued an official announcement to the ninja world in the name of the official name. It can be summed up in a few words. The cruel bloodbath of Konoha by the Uchiha clan is contrary to the way of forbearance, and is intolerable by the entire world of ninja. As the second largest village in the entire ninja world, Yunnan village has the responsibility and obligation to maintain order and justice in the ninja world. They will send troops to help Konoha end the unrest. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197. Restoring Peace in the Ninja World. As soon as the news came out, the entire shinobi world shook again. Yunnan village is planning to take action against Konoha. For a long time, Yunnan village has been the second largest ninja village after Konoha in strength. This village is based on military power, and its military strength is very strong. The fourth generation Raikage himself possesses the top strength in the ninja world, and his prestige in the ninja world is very high. In the Fourth World War, the top commander was the fourth generation of Raikage, and this person's strength and prestige are evident. In addition, Yunnan village also possesses two nuclear bombs at the same time as the two-tailed and eight-tailed nuclear bombs as the ultimate secret weapon. Konoha's situation really looked very bad. Konoha as always, Konoha on this day is as depressed and deserted as before. Without the slightest vitality, various black materials related to the purpose of the three generations are still spreading throughout the village under the impetus of the Uchiha clan. After several days of brewing, the black third generation has really become a mainstream fishing vessel. The attitude of the villagers towards Uchiha Ryubana and the Uchiha clan has been greatly eased. After all, even though the Uchiha clan had killed so many people in the village, it was also a helpless move under pressure. It can't be said that the three generations are planning to start annihilating the clan. You let the Uchiha clan stretch their necks and wait for death, right? It's almost time. In the temporary base, the only remaining high-level leaders, such as Hyuga Nisa, Marino Ibiki, Nara Suzaku, and Shenji Kaharu, gathered again. Nara Suzaku glanced at the big people around and opened his mouth with a serious face. Now the villagers are not so resistant to Uchiha Ryuhan. It's time to announce that Ryuzen has been nominated for the fifth generation of Naruto. Will it be too soon? Turning to sleep, Kaharu frowned. There are still many villagers who resist the Uchiha clan. Yes, Suzaku, haste is not fast. If the steps are too big, I am afraid that something will happen. Marino Ibiki also nodded in agreement. I know all this, But we can't wait any longer, Narasuzaku said categorically. The other villages must be ready to move, and we must plan early, Mysers. It's not good. Several people were discussing business matters, and suddenly an Anbu ninja ran in with a panic expression on his face. The expressions of the big figures in the base couldn't help but condensed, and a feeling of extreme non-second faintly engendered in their hearts to be able to make a well-trained mature ninja so flustered. No matter what happens, it must be no small thing. What's the matter? You speak slowly. Hyuga Hika talked to the Anbu ninja. U9 village just declared war on Konoha. According to our information, U9 village is now beginning to gather ninja troops, and will break into Konoha at any time. The Anbu ninja sweated profusely and said to the big man, Nani, this happened. All the big figures in the base suddenly changed their faces, and no one could keep calm. Everyone had expected that after Konoha's turmoil spread, other villages would inevitably be eager to move, but they didn't expect U9 village to be so simple, waging war against Konoha so quickly. Boom. Marino Abbey slapped the table again, full of anger. It's really unreasonable, that group of bastards. It's so nasty. They took advantage of the fire. Several other senior executives were also all angry. The worst thing really happened. Suzaku shook his head and sighed. Fortunately, we have made the right choice. Everyone couldn't help feeling a blessing when he said this. Fortunately, he chose to follow Narasuzaku's suggestion at that time, bearing the humiliation and carrying a huge burden, and agreed to let Ryuzen be the fifth generation Hokage. Otherwise, the village would not have time to be destroyed in the fight with Konoha, and would be destroyed by U9 village first. After years of exhaustion during the three wars, Konoha was already a little weak, and he didn't dare to easily collide with a powerful U9, not to mention the current situation if the Uchiha clan doesn't make a move. Konoha will have no other scene with Shang U9 besides perishing. I suggest that I immediately recommend Ryubana as the agent of Naruto. Narasuzaku followed and said to the big bosses, and immediately got the unanimous approval of the big bosses. Now that everyone agrees, please wait a moment, I'll go and invite Ryubian to come over. After Narasuzaku greeted everyone, he personally went to the Uchiha clan. Ryubana Uchiha was invited out politely. After a while, the figure of Ryubana appeared in the temporary base along with Narasuzaku just sitting there and doing nothing. It brings an unspeakable pressure on the big guys on the scene. Ryun, I invite you to come over this time. There are two things to discuss with you, Narasuzaku said to Ryun with a serious face. The first thing, after a few of us have discussed, we feel that the time is almost there. We plan to let you act as the agent of Hokage first. During this period, we will file your list of proxy Naruto with the daimyo. At the same time, we will hold a vote of confidence meeting. After the vote is passed, you will officially become Konoha's fifth generation Naruto. Just look at this kind of thing. What about the second thing? Liu Ren asked casually. We just got news that U9 village has declared war on Konoha and is gathering ninja troops. I'm afraid it will come soon, Narasuzaku said to Ryujin with an incomparable weight and dignity. Chapter 198. Yin. But after seeing Liu Bian listen to it, he showed a disapproving chuckle. I am not surprised that those rascals can do this kind of thing. U9's original style is very sturdy, saying that they said that the gangsters really did not wrong them, and there was a dark history of running to Konoha to abduct Jiuxina before and now in the major ninja villages. Konoha's boss U9's second child, U9's current strength is far stronger than that of the other ninja villages. Konoha is suffering at this moment. If they don't take advantage of Konoha's looting, it would be strange. Ryu Blade, at this critical moment, we need to know what the attitude of your Uchiha clan is, or what is your attitude? Narasuzaku stared at Ryubana, and asked in an extremely solemn and extremely serious tone, turning to sleep. Zyojin, Hyuga Nissa, and other bigwigs did the same, all staring at Liu Blade. The atmosphere in the entire temporary base was extremely tense for a while, because Liu Ren's next attitude could be said to be a matter of Konoha's life and death. This is not an exaggeration at all. Konoha will have this situation now, and it has a lot to do with my killing a lot of people. As everyone watched, Liu Bian still looked so calm. What's more, since I am already acting as an agent for Naruto, then I will take on the burden of acting as an agent for Naruto. Hearing Liu Ren's words, the senior officials on the scene finally couldn't help but breathe a long sigh of relief. There is no more worry as long as Uchiha Ryubana is willing to make a move. What is the combination of Raikage and Ob? You don't need to mess around. Do whatever you want. Don't think about other things. After putting down these words to the big brothers, Liu Ren got up and left. Not long after Ryuzen left, the big guys announced a message to the villagers in the official name. From now on, Uchiha Ryukin will act as Konoha's agent Naruto. When the news broke, Konoha was shaken. And everyone was talking frantically. Uchiha Ryubana? How did the murderer who killed the third generation purpose let him act as an agent for Naruto? What about the murderer who kills the third generation target? The third generation target is going to kill, and no one is allowed to fight back. Uchiha clan. Uchiha has never been a Hokage in Konoha's history. I firmly oppose. How can that arrogant family member deserve to be Hokage? The vast majority of the villagers still hold an opposing attitude, but after the black third-generation fisherman's deliberation, the degree of opposition has not been so intense that it is out of control regarding this. Neither the Konoha executives nor the Uchiha clan were worried, because the time for the Uchiha clan to rise to power is about to come. Chapter 129, Union? Well, in front of me, have you heard that Uchiha Ryubana is acting as an agent for Naruto, which is really absurd. I really don't know what Konoha's high-level people are thinking. Isn't Konoha no one now? That's true. Konoha really doesn't seem to be able to find any suitable people now. The streets and lanes, restaurants, wine shops, casinos, cinemas and other places, no matter what occasion, are almost full of sounds like this. After all, the news that Uchiha Ryubana is acting as Naruto's agent is too hot. It's no wonder that after the news is announced, it will arouse such a big wave. It is that Ryuban's identity is too sensitive. He killed 3 generations of Mu, but he was still a Uchiha, and Uchiha's awkward status in Konoha has never been a Hokage since the establishment of the village. Red, that fellow Ryuban, has acted as an agent for Hokage, which is really unexpected. Inside the Yale Noodle House, Madek and Zairuhan sat side by side for dinner. Madek sighed to Zairuhan. The ramen in front of the two of them was almost cold, and neither of them had the intention of using their chopsticks. Obviously, on the surface, the two of them met out for dinner, but in fact they just wanted to find someone to talk to. Do you really believe those claims? 3 generations wanted to destroy the Uchiha clan, but was killed by Ryubana. After Hong was silent for a long time, he asked Madke with a complex and heavy expression, so many adults have said so, how can this matter be false? Madke asked. Naturally Zairuhan was silent again. She actually knew that this incident was probably not fake, but she couldn't accept such a thrilling thing for a while. What Yuri Hong never thought was that there was a big deviation between the truth of the matter and Konoha's official statement. Konoha's villagers, including them Shiaren, who did not witness the truth on the spot, were all deceived. Yuhi's Henhong knows the truth, but as a Shangnin, Yuhi's Henhong still mainly obeys orders. He didn't choose to reveal the secrets to his daughter, but forbids Zairuhan to contact Ryuban anymore. Damn it. After Zairuhan was silent for a long time, she knocked on the table. Why does this happen? How does this make me face Ryuban in the future? These days, I have been thinking about this problem. Madke's face also showed a struggling color. However, since the village chooses to let Liu Ren act as the agent of Hokage, it means that the village has recognized and accepted them. Should we do the same? Next, Madke's conversation turned, and there was a faint light flashing through the pupils under the thick eyebrows. He used to struggle between righteousness and friendship and didn't know what to choose, but now, this contradiction does not seem to exist anymore because even the village has accepted Uchiha's clan. He chose to accept Ryuzen. Isn't it logical? What he is more interested in now is the real strength of that guy Ryuban, who is so strong. It turned out that the kid had hidden his strength all the time. It's a joke. I don't care what other people think, but if the arrogant group becomes Hokage, I am the first one to refuse. Yes, Metke, your mind is pretty funny. Don't you know what virtues the Uchiha clan are? However, a lot of such objections came from Madke's side. Chapter 199. Damn, Ryuban is different. How much do you know about Ryuban? Madke immediately returned angrily. Madke suddenly fell into the ridicule. Now the entire village has a generally poor impression of the Uchiha clan, even if the village's senior officials placed the Uchiha clan as a victim this time. But long-rooted ideas have been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. However, compared to those villagers who generally opposed the attitude, all the Uchiha clan was boiled over. Although it is only an agent of Naruto, it is also of great significance to the Uchiha clan. Great, Ryuban is now acting as an agent for Naruto, so will it be far from Naruto? My Uchiha clan, finally Hokage was born. This is a significant day, and it should be celebrated. It can be said that the Uchiha clan is full of joy, which also makes Uchiha Ryubana's prestige in the entire Uchiha clan reached a peak. Suzaku-sama, after the news that Uchiha Ryubana was acting as Hokage's agent, the villagers generally opposed it. There are also some who reacted fiercely, and even wanted to protest in front of the adults, but we controlled them. In the temporary base, The other bigwigs were busy preparing for the battle, and Nara Suzaku temporarily took the place. He heard the report from the ANB, and nodded calmly. Everything was expected. Uchiha people acting as the agent of Naruto. There will definitely be a large area of opposition, but because of their previous efforts, this opposition is still acceptable. Suzaku-sama, do you want to take any measures? The ANB ninja asked again. It's almost time. Suzaku groaned slightly, but waved his hand. It's time to tell everyone that Union declared war on Konoha. He had received the information just now, and Union's ninja troops had already assembled, and they were beginning to push toward Konoha in a big way. I'm afraid it won't take long before this news will spread throughout Konoha. Now there is no point in concealing it anymore. It is better to take the initiative to disclose it. What's more, Konoha also needs a series of preparations and defenses in the village, as well as the cooperation of the villagers. Now, it is time to officially announce this news at this time. The villagers' resistance to Uchiha Ryubana is simply irrelevant. Notify all the villagers. Gather in the central square within 30 minutes. We have something important to announce, Nara Suzaku said to the ANB ninja with a serious face. The news spread quickly, and it didn't take half an hour at all, and all the villagers had gathered on the central square. There is another important announcement. I don't know what the important matter is this time. No matter what it is, we take this opportunity to let Konoha executives understand our intentions. Yes, tell them, we don't want the Uchiha clan to be Hokage. Yes, the Uchiha clan is Hokage. Let's dream of it. While waiting for Konoha's high-level staff to appear, everyone was discussing frantically. Many people are clamoring with vows, wanting to take this opportunity to raise opinions against Uchiha's role as Hokage. To the senior Konoha immediately received a very enthusiastic response. Everyone was full of enthusiasm, eagerly waiting for Zu and Zaichin to wait for the Konoha high-level personnel to come out, so that these high-level personnel could hear their own voices in this hot atmosphere. Almost 10 minutes later, the adults such as Kaoru, Hyuga Nissa, and Nara Suzaku appeared again in sequence. Masters, we don't want Uchiha Ryubana to act as an agent for Naruto. The Uchiha clan is not worthy of being Hokage. We are opposed to Uchiha being Hokage. The big men just came out, and they didn't speak, and there were many people under the square yelling, everyone, please be quiet. After turning to bed, Zaichin lost a lot of energy before the scene became quiet. Everyone, I regret to tell you bad news. We got the exact news. Right now, at this moment, the fourth generation of Raikage is leading 3,000 ninja troops to kill us. Konoha, the invasion of other villages that we were worried about before, really happened. After turning to bed, the scene did not fall into the hustle and bustle as before. On the contrary, it fell into extreme silence. No, silence is not enough to describe it. It should be said that silence is right. It was as if the entire Konoha had become a silent film, and the sound was completely erased by the invisible big hand. Doesn't exist anymore. Every villager who heard the news turned into a wood carving directly, and the whole person was stunned. It wasn't until a full 5 or 6 seconds passed, that the extremely suppressed and shocked sound of astonishment, like a flood that opened the gate, burst out. Almost overturned. Konoha, how could this happen? Is the war going to start again? It's Union. Now how does Konoha compete with Union? It's over. Konoha is going to be over now. We are no longer even Hokage. How are we going to fight this battle? Extreme despair, panic, and anxiety, at this moment like a flood, flooded everyone. Some people even had their legs weak and sat down on the ground. Who else cares about Ryubana acting as Hokage's agent? Everyone, don't panic. Please don't lose hope for the village. Chapter 200. Even if we are facing a village like Union, we are sure to defeat them, because our agent Naruto Uchiha Ryubana, he has a powerful force that you can't imagine. Turning to sleep, Kaoru pushed Uchiha Ryubana out at the moment when the tension reached the extreme. As everyone had expected, no one was paying attention to whether or not Uchiha Ryubana should act as the agent of Naruto at this time. Everyone was concerned about how to resist Union's invasion. Can you stop Union's invasion? Everyone, let our agent Naruto and Ryubana Uchiha say something to everyone. After pacifying the villagers a few more words, Zu and Zaichin began to officially push Ryubana to the front desk. The sentence of turning to bed Zaichin had just been said, and a spatial vortex appeared abruptly in front of everyone. Immediately following a handsome young man, he suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The scene was quiet, and everyone's eyes were subconsciously on the boy. Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Uchiha. In response to everyone's attention, Uchiha was very generous, without any tension, and some just incomparably calm. His voice doesn't sound loud, but it seems that there is a convincing power, so clear and incomparably transmitted to everyone's ears. Union village is on the way to invade Konoha. I know that at this moment you are scared, panicked, and upset. Sandame, Mito Menian, and other adults just died not long ago. You are worried that Konoha will be destroyed in U9's hands. I understand your feelings, but what I want to tell you is, relax your mind and put it in your stomach with peace of mind. What should I do? U9 village is a fart in my eyes. When the ninjas of U9 village come, I will kill one, and I will kill the other two. I will kill as many as they come, as long as they dare to step into Konoha's territory this time. I will let them be buried in Konoha's land forever as fertilizer to nourish our Konoha flowers and trees. That's all. After saying these words, Uchiha Ryubana didn't say anything more, and once again used the magical technique. He disappeared abruptly. Only the dumbfounded villagers were left staring at the same place. U9 is a fart. How many kills do you come? Let them be buried in Konoha's land forever. This Agent Naruto's tone is too big, right? Could it be that I was drunk and didn't wake up? No matter how you look at it, this Agent Naruto is extremely unreliable. Not only did the Konoha villagers feel uneasy, they became even more flustered, but everyone is not a fool. At this critical juncture, they wittingly didn't mention anything against Liu Ren being an agent for Hokage. That is purely adding chaos to the village, and there is no other meaning beyond that. But what is different from these ordinary villagers is that the high-level Konoha who turned to sleep in Kaoru and Narasuzaku, after hearing Ryuzen's words, couldn't help but become excited. After all, these people have personally seen Ryuban's enchanting strength. Even Kyuubi can only be smashed like a toy in front of Ryuban. What role can even Raikage and Yui play in front of Ryuban? The only thing they need to consider is Yunyan's 3,000 ninja troops. Everyone, now I announce that Konoha is on wartime alert. Everyone needs to be prepared and follow our ninjas' arrangements. When it is necessary, we will send everyone to the emergency shelter as soon as possible, even if Konoha is defeated. U9 village will not attack the civilians, so please feel relieved. Well, everyone is gone. Go back and prepare accordingly. After the emergency mobilization, the entire village of Konoha entered a wartime alert state, and civilians, ninjas, and ninjas all began to operate at high speed. All in all, Konoha's current atmosphere in the entire village can be described in 2 words: nervousness. One after another ninjas began to mobilize urgently, and one order after another was issued by the temporary commander Narasuzaku. Team after team began to assemble. The whole village is waiting for U9's arrival. Only Uchiha Ryubana, what should he really do? As if nothing happened. Chapter 130 Army Pressure. Ryuban vs 4th Generation Raikage. U9 Village. At the exit, the 3,000 ninja troops have been assembled, and they are densely lined up in a neat and orderly square. Neat and orderly, with a compelling momentum. The sharpness and murderous aura of the 3,000 ninjas condense together, making the air on the scene become deadly. At the forefront of the ninja army, there are absolutely high-level leaders such as Rabbi of the 8-tailed man, the sole heir of the 3 generations of Raikage Black Thunder Dunge. Daru. On the opposite side of these troops, the 4th generation of Mulei Ying Ai, holding his arms, stood with a golden sword, staring at the ninja troops in front of him with awe inspiring eyes. His aura of being alone can even surpass the sum of the 3,000 ninjas in front of him. Simply stop there, but it seems like a peak in a mountain or horizontal, which makes people feel a lot of pressure. Today, the entire shinobi world will recognize the true power of our Union. Today, we will step on Konoha under our feet and become the first village in the real ninja world. The 4 generations of Lei Ying's words are simple, clean and tidy, without the kind of tirades, but everyone at the scene seemed to be beaten with blood. They only felt that every cell in their body was shouting, and the whole body was full of power. Set off. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.